You've got levels. I've got levels.
Yep. Is it recording? Yeah.
Yes, and we were recording.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
There's nothing to apologize for. This is totally the first take.
I definitely didn't not plug in something.
And I definitely didn't not notice and start talking and recording.
You know what? They out there could have seen that this wasn't plugged in.
Yeah.
And no one said anything.
Come on, guys.
Not one of you.
Help us
Not
out here.
one of you. Y'all could have seen this. No one said anything.
It's all right.
You especially. I expected better from you.
That's right, Jason. We see you out there.
Golly, Jason. It's always Jason.
I don't know why Jason.
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There's a Jason out there. It's like, oh, come on,
What did I
do? Sorry, Jason. We love you.
Jasons are cool.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 108 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I'm Brian Goulet.
I'm Drew Brown.
And we're here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show, where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. And I will say, I don't normally watch the intros to these pencasts because I'm doing them and it's so long. We're not going to review this guy's faces. I remember a while ago, people were commenting about the faces that you make, and I didn't actually sit and observe it as a viewer until a couple of days ago, where I forget what I was doing. I was trying to look up something, a reference, and I just watched the first couple of minutes of our intro from last week, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Drew's face!"
I've got nothing
while
else to
I'm
do.
talking.
You're talking.
It totally makes sense.
I got
but
new stuff.
I was like, "This is really entertaining."
I probably. I
was entertained.
I don't know if there's ever a time where I don't make a face at myself while I'm washing my hands, in the bathroom.
In the mirror?
Yeah.
Really?
I just make faces. Yeah.
I've got a reaction too.
I just entertain myself.
What's really funny, so whenever I am getting a picture taken, somebody's like, "Oh, smile," I always want to make a dumb face.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I've done it since I was a kid. It's my natural reaction. Somebody's taking a ppicture, I'm always like, I cannot help it.
That's amazing.
And Ellie does the exact same thing.
Nice.
Joseph is normal, just is like Rachel, just oh, smile, whatever.
Oh.
Me and Ellie both, you're just like, so. Yeah.
Archer does anything but smile. He either just flat nothing or goofy face. To get that kid to smile is like pulling teeth.
I kind of love the kid deadpan pictures.
Oh, that's all he
mean?
does. Oh my God.
That's so funny.
And he's such a goofball in real life, but you try to take a picture of him, he's just
he's like, nope.
Terrible.
No, he wants no evidence.
Terrible.
No evidence of his personality.
I have a dog like that too.
Really?
One of our 3 dogs does not like having its picture taken. You pull out your phone.
How does the dog even know? They don't
point,
even know what's going on.
Oh, he when you point your phone at him, he will run away. He won't even look at you. Yeah.
Weird.
He's a freak.
Maybe it's some face that you make or something while you're trying to take a picture.
I think he's concerned that he will bind him to this earthly plane.
I don't think dogs think at that level. I don't think they're aware. They're just what is that object? I'm scared of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, in today's show, we're going to be talking about the most durable fountain pens, like the Casio G-Shock of the pen world, for you watch people out there. What pen to buy for the holidays if you really want to flex? What is our onboarding process like here at Goulet Pens for new team members? We have a lightning round of a bunch of quick questions that I think you're really going to enjoy because I definitely had fun answering them. Drew picked some fun ones. And we're going to be spotlighting the new and elusive TWSBI Kai. All that's happening, and it will happen after feedback.
Okay, I'm just going to read one quick question here. It's not quick.
It's not quick. It's very long.
But it's from my friend Dave. Dave Goodridge 8352 on YouTube said that it's a long thing. I'm going to paraphrase a bit. Essentially, Dave was working as a contractor for the U.S. Air Force back in the day, and he had to refuel a plane. In this case, a C-130 Hercules, and he had bought a Waterman so that he could keep track of his nice pen because he was getting it taken and lost and stuff. He's like, I'm going to buy a nice pen so I can keep track of it. And it worked for the most part.
Okay.
Until one day where Air Force pilot needed a refuel, so Dave took care of business, drove out, started refueling it, got his Waterman, and the pilot, Dave says, the pilot also has paperwork, same as Dave did. To stretch his legs, he walked over to my truck. I handed the paperwork to him to do his part. When he made a face, I realized he had left his pen on the airplane. So, Dave being the good guy.
I see where this is heading.
I handed the Waterman to him to finish the paperwork. I went about my job, finished the fueling, and drove away. Pulling up to the fuel stand to refill the truck, I discovered that the waterman was missing. I knew what happened. The pilot has my waterman. At that moment, the C-130 flew overhead. It's a very large, like, passenger.
C-130 is a huge plane.
Yeah, huge monster plane. My waterman was gone. It flew off into the wild blue yonder. Oh. My question is, what is the most unusual way you've lost a pen, or have you ever lost a pen? Thank you, guys. Hope you have a great week. Dang, Dave, I am so sorry. I'm sure that he said he didn't even remember what pen it was, so obviously this happened a while ago, but that is a heck of a way. Like, he lost that thing. Like, lost.
It's literally,
there was no,
like, watching it fly away, knowing that it's like, there it goes.
Yeah, see, I've never had anything like that happen. Yeah. If I've lost a pen, I think right now, I don't think I've lost any. I might have. If I have lost a pen, I don't know what's gone right now, so it's like, I don't know. It's like
been most of my situations.
Yeah, like it's almost like I've misplaced things forever, I think, maybe, but I don't remember. So, but I definitely have never, like, consciously known that a pen was gone. Right.
Yeah, for me, like, if I lose track of it, I'm like, I haven't lost it. I just don't currently know where it is.
Indefinitely misplaced.
It's still somewhere. It's not like I dropped it into an active volcano and I'm like, this pen.
Well, Dave's pen is also somewhere.
True, but what are the odds that he could get it back? Like,
although it is more likely that his got dropped into a volcano than any of yours. Because his actually,
I don't know what I do in my spare time.
Elevation wise, his pen has achieved.
I like to hang around active volcanoes. I mean, in my spare time, that's what I like to do. Yeah, that's rough. Me, okay, so I have a story that's not actually lost. Most of the things I lose, I lose track. Of the things. I very rarely actually lose. I have lost a Lamy 2000 at once. That's the most notable pen that I can even remember that I've ever lost. And I wish I could say I knew.
That's a regular Lamy 2000?
Just a regular Lamy 2000 of a fine nib. It was like my everyday carry kind of a thing. I have a bunch of nib sizes. You know, I carry them around a lot. And I was just like, one day I was like, where's the fine nib one? And I just looked everywhere and couldn't find it. So that's the one pen I've ever like rebought to replace. And I was like, because that's when I like fully admit, like, okay, I think I've lost this now when I replace it. But no, I had an instance a couple of weeks ago. So when I was shooting the video for the Hall of Fame, the Lamy 2000 one, I was pulling out a bunch of different pens, a bunch of different 2000s to show them in the video. And I could have sworn that I had pulled out my stainless steel Lamy 2000. I remembered like in the moment grabbing the pen and then sort of moving, but I was grabbing a bunch of stuff at one time. There's video equipment everywhere, lights in my face. And I remember then kind of like rearranging and setting down at my desk, but then I was like, where's my stainless 2000? Like what happened? Like I just moved 5 feet. Where did this pen go?
I remember you talked to me about that.
I like tore my office apart. I looked everywhere and I thought like...
Yeah, you were like, did you borrow mine? I'm like, no.
The only thing I could conclude, because I had a distinct memory of picking up the pen and then sitting at the desk and like I lost it. And to be fair, there was one time, Rachel brings this up all the time, I was 17, I bought a movie ticket stub and lost it from the time that I bought the stub to walking to give it to the ticket person. I just lost the ticket stub in 15 feet of walking. Oh my gosh. And I had to go back and rebuy another ticket. So... it's not the first time I've lost track of something, but that I felt like a crazy person. I was like, maybe I like dropped it in the trash can as I was moving around and then the trash got taken out or something like that. I don't know. Turns out like a week later, I had the pen at home the entire time.
There you go.
I just totally hallucinated that I had it in my office and that I grabbed it. I think what happened is I was grabbing a bunch of pens and I was like, oh, the stainless 2000 would be good to show. And I had like the other, like the brown limited edition. I had ones that looked sort of similar. And I just associated, I need to grab pen and stainless pen.
Yeah.
And I just like, my mind was like...
it was in the same part of your brain.
You've grabbed this.
Yeah.
And then I sat down and I was like...
I've done that before.
I have lost this, but no, it's safely tucked away back in the drawer.
Excellent.
Now that I know where it is. Anyway, so that's my... I didn't actually even lose anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my only story.
So yeah, I did want to pose Dave's question to all of you out there. If you have like truly lost, like not just like, oh, I had this pen and now I don't have it. Like if you truly like lost, but like you dropped it down
it was
a
like,
storm drain or like something.
It was like, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It was like in your ear and you looked over a skyscraper and it fell out.
Yeah.
You know,
give us some
kind of
good stuff. I'm sure that somebody has something. I don't know if anybody's going to beat Dave, but try.
Yeah. There you go.
What you got?
I got a bunch of feedback in
here,
I had
Drew. A long
you
one.
Really crammed it all in.
I had a long ones. You
That's
get
cool.
little.
That's
You
cool.
get the bite-sized nuggets.
All right. Here's the first nugget. This is from the Robbie T2. Quantity versus quality idea. Best pen around $500 versus $500 budget for 10 to 20 pens. So like a comparison kind of a thing.
Huh? We don't need to answer this now, but I put it on here because I thought it was a really cool idea, and I just wanted to ask you, like,
I like that idea. It's
I want to ask you and everybody else, like, where do you land on if you had to stand, if you got to have first, if you got to choose which podium you're going to stand at for a debate, $500 single pen or $500 worth of pens, like which one are you going to go to?
It depends. If it's me as I am now, I'd probably go more in the $500 pen because I have a really good diversity of different types of pens, different styles. But if I was starting out,
and you've done the research,
yeah. If it was me starting out, it would totally be the $500 budget for 10 to 20 pens because that's literally what I did. I didn't even have $500 budget when I started, but I was like, I want to get the most experience with different types of pens as possible. So budget pens was the way to go. And I didn't spend $500 on a pen for quite some time. So yeah,
I feel like I could argue either side. I think for me, I'd rather have $500 worth of pens, but I absolutely see the merits of a single $500 pen for sure. And it depends on the type of person. Like there are one and done type people. I am not that type people.
Yeah,
I'm a different people.
Does it have to be 10 to 20? So like because you could get like an 823 and a Falcon. Like you could get 2 or 3 really decent pens for $500. But would you have to get like
Robbie says 10 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting challenge, Robbie. I'm gonna give that some thought.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do something with that. By Tresja says your discussion about hammers. I feel like hammers keep coming up here. Y'all love some hammers. I feel like I have the same discussion with my family every time they see my fountain pen collection, and every time I need to explain why I have more than 2. I mean, it's fair. Like most people, when I talk to them about fountain pens, first off, they don't even know what a fountain pen is most of the time. Just the average, person.
They think it's the feather.
Yeah, it's like the thing with a feather. I'm like, that's a quill. That's like you went back like 100 years too far in history. But yeah, most people, it's like if the average person that doesn't think about pens very much, they might have one pen that was like a graduation gift or an heirloom or something like that. So they know the idea of a nice pen, but I don't think it's something that people who even have one of those use on a regular basis. So I think the concept of a fountain pen that you like reuse and use constantly is a bit foreign to the average American anyway, at least.
Right, but 40 hammers.
Yeah, well, 40 pens. Like, why would you need? There
was someone in the comments that
hammers
said,
are cheaper than pens. By the way,
there was
you know how many hammers you can buy for $500?
There was a professional contractor in the comments that said, actually, no, I have 5 hammers, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. He as a professional, he justified 5 hammers.
Okay.
He was trying to argue with you, like, actually, Drew, no. I'm like, oh, no.
It kind of makes it look worse, though.
Right,
it's like,
exactly.
If you're a professional and you have 5 hammers and I have 40,
I want to say he was a pipe fitter, maybe. But I don't recall. But yeah, 5 I get. 40. There's not 40. Those hammers don't fit 40 different purposes.
I will admit that I have a couple of hammers that
some vanity hammers
that I bought for aesthetic reasons. They're usable hammers. They're good hammers, but
you can use anything as a hammer.
There were some that I bought that it's got like a leather wrapped handle and it's like really nice. It's really comfortable. It's really nice. I definitely have some that I bought for that reason. And there's like some that's like, oh, it's got an interesting technology or it's got a different shape to the claw or something like that.
Interesting technology?
Yeah.
A hammer?
Yes.
Hammer technology.
Hammers have technology, Drew. They do. They do.
All right.
I won't get all into it, but
I'm curious about what is hammer technology.
There's hammer technology.
I know sometimes they have like a little magnet for the nail. I get that. That's cool.
There's some technology.
But
different shades, different materials, all kinds of things. There's one that have like, specific structure to it and like made different materials so that it like cuts down vibration and stuff like that.
Oh my.
There's reasons.
Can someone make an actual hammer that makes the sound like a little baby hammer makes, that like thing, you know what I mean?
But like a metal hammer that makes that sound?
Yeah, you remember the way you tip it over and be like
you want that?
And then it goes like
You do that voice, that sound effect amazingly accurately.
I want a real hammer that does that. So I'm like...
You would really want that as you're working? Yeah. As you're like hanging a picture frame?
You just sounded like an ape.
It does kind of sound like an ape, right?
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Wow.
Yes, I absolutely want one of those. That's hammer technology.
That's something. I don't know what that is, but yeah. Anyway, I feel you on that one, Trezja. I have to explain myself in many different aspects of my life.
Sometimes on the Pencast.
Because I'm a serial hobbyist in many different ways. Hammers, hatchets,
Hammerfile.
Puzzles, pens, you name it. Atilio Escobar says, you guys are so fun and always put a smile on my face. And to think you guys don't monetize your videos is so respectable. Thank you for doing your Pencast/podcast. Well, you're very welcome. We did monetize our videos at one point. I had heard that it might help to YouTube's algorithm would promote your stuff more if it was monetized. I didn't find that to be true. And we did get some money from it, but I don't think the fountain pen content world is super lucrative. So we weren't getting a lot of money at the time. And it was we're just kind of forcing everybody to watch ads. And that's not really what we want. I didn't feel like it was worth the trade-off.
The internet's full of that anyway.
Yeah, I was ads just also make me actually upset.
There are plenty of YouTube videos where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll check that out. And then an ad plays at the beginning and I'm just nope, I won't.
I don't want to deal with this.
I've done that so many times.
Exactly.
We don't want you doing that with our videos. I don't want to put
any barriers.
Yeah.
And when you monetize on YouTube, you have zero control over what ads get shown. So, who knows what the heck happens. Now, I will say we aren't currently monetized. I'm not going to say we wouldn't ever in the future, partly because, well, that's you.
Can you imagine
what a very quiet sneeze, Drew?
Thank you.
How respectful.
Well, compared to you, even a jet engine is quiet.
I actually hurt my throat when I
startled me yesterday.
It happens
the
all the
thing
time.
about you don't have like a
There's no buildup.
There's not even a breath.
Every now and then I'll get a buildup, but oftentimes
it was just a shotgun.
It's like an attack. Yeah, it's like a shotgun.
Someone
blast.
pulled a trigger.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what YouTube would play as an ad if it just listened to the content of our Pencasts?
I don't know what you would get.
It'd be hammers and yellow jacket repellent.
Yeah. And cargo shorts and all kinds of stuff. Video games and old movies. And it's a hodgepodge. Anyway, so I will say YouTube made a change a couple of years ago where if they want to put ads on your content, they will, whether you are monetized or not. So it used to be that they would not put any ads if you weren't monetized. And that was cool. Now we have zero control over that. So actually, I'm kind of curious because YouTube gives no information about this behind the scenes. We don't have anything monetized at the moment. I'm very curious if you all watching our content, not just Pencast, but just all of our YouTube videos, do you see YouTube ads? Because I genuinely don't know. Because honestly, if they're showing you ads anyway, I'm like, well, we should monetize and then we can it doesn't cost you guys anything. We could just put that into our production. But I don't want to do that if it's going to force you to watch ads when you're not seeing them already. So I'm genuinely curious. If you could type in the comments, I would really love to know. All right. Toots4 956 says, I had a sailor pen with a medium fine.
Thank you.
MF nib. Okay, it means medium fine. Fountain pen context. A medium fine nib that was scratchy one way. So I watched a past video you made and used the mesh. I like that. The mesh.
The mesh.
Very hip sounding. I got the mesh, man. Used the mesh ever so gently twice and had great results. This Pencast was a good review. Thank you. Blessings. Well, that is cool.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it.
Some of the stuff we share is actually helpful, like in the real world. It's very gratifying.
It's like a broken clock thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even the blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. And the last one, JBots8883 says, great answer on the nibs 14K versus 18K. I appreciate how you incorporated shape and other qualities that impact the writing experience as much, if not more, than the actual gold content. Great content, as always, matches the quality products and service you offer. Well, thank you, JBots. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we got a lot of good feedback on that last week. A lot of people appreciated that discussion.
I'm glad because, sometimes I can deep dive and I'm like, does anybody care about any of this?
This time, yes.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Actually, most times is much to my chagrin. That's why I keep having to add dive topics.
It's sort of like the dad jokes. You're kind of like,
I think I'm the one that hates them the most, but
that's okay.
That's all right.
That's all right. Well, you're taking it for the team. You're doing. You're suffering for the audience.
I am the most captive audience.
You are kind of literally captive.
There's a door shut right there.
Yeah, I locked the door and Drew can't get out until we're done. I'm just kidding. No, that's really cool. I'm glad to hear that because sometimes, especially in the fountain pen world, we want to make things very reductive and very this or that, one or the other. And it's like, there's a spectrum on basically every aspect of the fountain pen world. So sometimes you just need a crud load of nuance to work into there. So I was trying to do that in that question.
You did. One person even said, I'm assuming based on this question, just said, Brian is a great teacher. That was a comment.
Well, that's awesome to hear.
There you go. Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because I know you feel like you can kind of go on, and sometimes you can, but you still get the point across.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of research too.
Yeah.
So it's like, I always try to look up questions like this in advance, and you can tell because
appreciated.
When you watch our more improvised pencasts, I'm like way less technical because I just don't remember facts so well. But and this time I'll start to dig in. I'm like, okay, I know where to go to start answering this question. Let me do some research. Let me look it up, and I sort of go down my own rabbit hole, and then I sort of piece it together.
I think it's appreciated.
Good. I'm really glad to hear that. All right, that's it for feedback, and we got a bunch of new stuff. All right, Drew, I think our dry spell may be over here, at least for the week. We didn't have a lot of new stuff in the last couple of weeks, but we're making up for it now.
Chock full.
Yep. First thing we got is the Lamy Dialogue CC fountain pen, all black. So it's a new finish, basically, a new color of the Dialogue CC. This is the little one, the little compact one.
Which is better, right?
Which it's different. I think it's probably better for most people. Like it's smaller. It's not as long and heavy as the full size one.
I just feel like it's like the design is more creative. You've got that cool little roll stop there.
Yeah. Looks a little less like a hot dog.
Yeah.
The big one does sort of look like that, but it's a beautiful pen, and the engineering is really cool. So I've always had sort of a sweet spot in my heart, whatever metaphor you go with there. I've always liked the Dialogue, but it's not always the most practical form of a fountain pen. But this one's a little better for me.
It's fun.
So that one, it's $350, $120. So it's up there in price a little bit. But what I will say is that black and gold two-tone nib looks really sharp.
It's that same nib is on the Lamy Studio all black.
Yes.
So that's like the all black nib, I guess.
Yeah, because most of the other black nibs are all, maybe there's an Emporium black that has that nib too.
I think you might be right.
I think, yeah.
But these
are
not
both,
many pens. But Lamy's calling both these all black. All black Studio, all black Dialogue.
Well, there you go.
So maybe it's like the makings of a little family.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. A little all black family of pens. Yeah. So maybe they can do an all black 2000.
Black hardware?
They're not going to do that.
They've made a brown and a blue.
That would be amazing if they did an all black. How tight would that look?
That would look cool.
This is going to get my hopes up. Okay, anyway. So we had that. Anyway, go check that out. It's a cool pen. We have the Sailor 1911 King of Pens Wabi Sabi. I want to say wasabi every time. Wabi Sabi fountain pen, the 3rd edition. This is a limited edition pen. It comes in a blue or a red. This is a textured Urushi lacquer. Very interesting designs. It's more in is it part of the bespoke collection? Yeah. Okay. So it's bespoke, which means it's cool and interesting and very limited in nature. So $2,500 for these, but King of Pens, huge 21K nib, which is pretty awesome. And as you know, 21K must mean it's better, right?
Watch last episode for that.
Legitimately, though, that is a cool nib. It's one of my favorites. All right. And then we have the TWSBI Kai fountain pen. This is a limited pen as well. I don't think this was numbered, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe so.
We can find out.
But anyway, it's limited in nature for sure. In fact, we're launching it this week, and I'm sure it'll be gone by the time this video publishes. So I'm sorry, but we are going to be restocking in maybe a month or so. So that's kind of neat. $130 for this one. It does not look like any other TWSBI that you have pretty much ever seen, except for... Well, so what's weird about this is they don't have a model name for this.
But they have made them before.
They have, and we're going to get into that in the spotlight today. So,
so you can sign up for the notification list.
Yeah, sign up for email notification if you are checking the site and it's already gone. Do that, or if you're on the original email list, we didn't get very many, so we don't even have enough to cover what's on the current email list.
So you might need to sign up again.
Yep. There you go. Next up, we have some ink samples. Bigger ink samples, really. So we have had 2 mil ink samples for 12, 13 years. Yeah, closer to 13 years. And it's been a great volume for most people, but there are some people that have bigger nibs, or they just don't find that certain pens don't fill as easily from the 2 ml vial and have been asking us for larger sample sizes, which I've always been kind of torn about because it's like I do get where there's a benefit to that, but it increases the price of the samples, obviously. So it's like, would I want 4 mils of every ink out there? It's not necessarily. So we have 800 plus colors of ink that we would have to change over if we were to make a change to 4 mil instead of 2 mil. So we said, you know what? Let's do a little test. Let's see what people actually want. So we're not taking away any 2 mil samples. We are going to be offering, or we are now offering, 4 mil samples in like our 24 or 25 most popular ink sampling colors. So you now have the option to get 2 or 4, depending on how much you want to pay and which you find more valuable to you. And then we'll see how that goes for a while. And then if y'all really love it and want us to expand, we can expand. I don't know. So as it is right now, we're just going to be offering both at the same time. And we'll see probably through the holiday season and see kind of how it goes. And if we want to add to it, we always can. But there you go. That's what we're doing now. So go check those out if you're interested. And last but not least, we had the Diamine Ink Vent calendars, which are going to be coming out.
It's that time of year.
Yep. It's going to be coming towards the end of this month. We have sort of a date, but I don't know if it's like an official date. Like October 20th is kind of what we've been told. I don't know how hard of a date that is, but just keep that in mind. So if you are interested in the Diamine Ink Vent, go ahead and sign up for the email notification, because then as soon as we get them in, we will be able to let you know that we have them and you can pick one up for yourself. So go check that out. This is the purple series, right?
The purple edition.
And they've had, I don't remember all the different colors, red, green, blue, not in that order, and now purple, I believe, right? Is the 4th one?
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah.
It was red, blue, green.
Blue, green, yeah. I don't know why I said it, red, green, blue.
Yeah.
RGB, that's why I said it, because of red, green, blue. I know.
That makes sense.
Anyway, go sign up for that. We have it on the site right now.
That's right.
Whew. All right, Drew. Now you got a bunch too.
Yeah. Visconti Rembrandt S. And I don't know if we ever covered in here that the Rembrandts have been rebranded.
Re-Rembrandted.
So they're calling them the Rembrandt S now. And I believe the S stands for Schmidt because they switched to Schmidt nibs.
Oh.
So that's out there. They're German nibs made by Schmidt. So if you had a Rembrandt from years and years ago, weren't super stoked about the nib, might want to give it another shot because these nibs are better. This one is the Lilac, and it is coming in at $175.20. It's available now. It looks nice, so check it out. We also have some other Rembrandts in the Rembrandt S series that also look pretty cool. So that's the new one from Visconti. New from Conklin, we've got the 1898 collection. So 3 pens in that collection, each for $108. Misto Green, Misto Orange, and Misto Purple. Misto means mixed in Italian, Brian.
That makes sense
and
because these look
colors,
very mixed up, swirly resins. Yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it looks different than your average Conklin. They've done a lot of
quite different,
like cast resin type stuff with like chunky looking things.
Yeah, this is not chunky. This is swirly.
Yeah.
So very different patterns.
What do you like better? Do you like chunks or swirls? Generally. Are you a chunky or a swirly?
I think I'm a chunky.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see that. You have a lot of chunky pens.
Thank you.
I like swirls.
Yeah.
I like both, but I think I lean swirl.
Yeah, I definitely lean chunk. I think the chunks have something a little bit more distinguished to them. I like looking at the swirls, but as far as what I want in my collection, I tend to go chunk.
The chunk is definitely like more of a vintage thing. Like that's, when I think of vintage pens, I think of chunky more than swirly.
Yeah, I gravitate toward the chunk.
There you go.
Anyway.
What do y'all like, chunk or swirl? Let us know.
And then Monteverde, they've got a new ink set. So these are going to be individual inks and inks available in a set. These are color-changing fountain pen inks, the first that I've ever seen. So you know those
fountain pen, yeah, for sure.
If you were a kid in the 90s, you had a pack of markers that you had you could color on the paper, and then you could have a white marker that you could go over that color with, and it would change colors.
Yes.
The best one was the black that changed into hot pink, and even as a kid, black and hot pink.
Really cool.
That was black and hot pink were my favorite colors.
Yeah.
Because of that one.
That was
because of that marker.
And do you remember some of the tips too? There was like a regular like fat, just kind of like cone tip on the white marker, and there were some that were like had like shapes to them.
I didn't have any that had that on the color changing marker, but I did have those shapes on just regular markers.
I think they had those, but I think maybe I'm crossing my synapses here.
But they definitely had those on markers for sure.
Maybe they didn't have that, but I feel like it was on the color changing one too.
Maybe
I don't
they
know.
certainly could have been.
Maybe you bought like the fancy pack or something.
There is no black and a hot pink, but they do have a bunch of other colors. And like I said, you can buy them as samples, bottles, single bottles, or in a set.
And we are doing samples of them too.
Yeah. So the set itself is $90.40. So that is definitely like the most fun way to get these inks.
But you're getting what, like 8 bottles of ink? Like, it's
Yeah,
a lot. It's a lot of ink.
eight bottles of ink, and then the ninth is the color changer.
stuff.
Yeah, so that's just clear. It's 100% clear. You can put that in your fountain pen. So I would approach this as kind of using a swab or a dip pen to put down a heavier layer of one of the colors, and then filling your fountain pen with the color changing agents and actually writing with that. But you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's totally novel, totally unique, and totally fun. So check those out if you want to.
We have not tested this yet. I seem to remember as a kid writing like a secret message in the clear one and then coloring over it with the regular marker. Do these inks do that?
I don't know.
That we haven't tried yet.
We have to try that.
I literally never thought of it until
That's a
just
great idea.
this moment.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we totally should have done that.
I forgot that was a thing until right now.
Now, I will say that most of these inks dry really, really quickly, so just keep that in mind. Some of them feather like nuts, but again, the purpose of them is not to like use them as regular writing inks. The purpose of them is to create a backdrop for the color.
It's a novelty.
Yeah, totally. It's a toy. They're toy inks.
I wouldn't write like your will and testament or like any long-standing. Like I wouldn't imagine that these are going to be like archival inks
just
or anything.
Goof
like
off
that.
with them, play with them, have fun with them.
Yeah.
And then Retro 51 has a new couple of products here. The first one is a fountain pen. We don't carry many of Retro 51's fountain pen, but they have fountain pens and they're nice.
The Tornado.
The Tornado fountain pen, yes sir. So the Buzz, which is a bee rescue design, we have had available in a rollerball for quite some time, but
cool
now
design.
it is so cool.
I love the texture,
which is why we chose to try it in a fountain pen, Brian.
Yay!
Because it's been super popular as a rollerball, and we're wondering if it will be at all popular as a fountain pen. We'd love for it to be, so please vote with your purchases if you like that idea. If this one does well, it might open the door for some more fountain pen options. I personally have been using one recently, and it's been performing nicely for me. So
we used to like dry out a little bit and stuff like that, but we've heard that they've made iterative changes over time. And like the cap sealing is a lot better than it used to be. So we haven't really given it a hard look in a while. Yeah. So I'm very curious what kind of feedback that we get about them.
We're really curious. But that is 11650 JOWo steel nib. Great design. It's one of the acid etch designs too. So you get a little bit of a texture and some really beautiful highlights and colors in the Buzz. And then back where the Tornado likes to be in the rollerball realm, we have an owl rescue pen. So both the owl and the bee have a portion of the proceeds donated to nonprofits that help with animal conservation. So owls and bees, respectively. So the owl rescue pen, not only are you going to be helping owls, but you're going to get a really cool, additionally, acid etched pen. So again, more texture and glow in the dark owl eyes. So a really fun pen. This is $65 because it is the rollerball. So both of those are available now from Retro 51. The owl is like legit brand new. The fountain pen Buzz is brand new to us.
As long as they don't come out with a yellow jacket rescue pen. Oh God. So I would not support that.
Do you still like, when you see bees in general, do you still like, oh, bees are nice? Or are you just kind of like put off by all yellow and black insects?
I've learned to educate myself as to the different types of bugs.
Excellent.
I'm not like, give me all the bees. I just want them crawling all over me. You know, there's like an instinct, especially because I literally have like traumatic events in my life around getting stung a lot.
I wonder if
I definitely have like a natural reaction. Like if something is flying on me and kind of buzzing or whatever, I'm like, I'll jump, but I'm not going to like try to kill it or
maybe you should add bees to your property. Maybe they'd scare off the yellow jackets.
My kids are deathly afraid of bees, so that would be a waking nightmare for my children.
I have a friend that did the whole honeybee thing for a little while. Yeah, got himself a little bench, thing. Yeah, he loved it.
That's cool.
Mad
respect.
Bought himself a little queen. Added it. It's a whole thing. I follow a lot of like bee rescue channels on Instagram.
Of course you do.
Where someone will go and be like, "Yeah, I got to report that there were some bees here. Got them out from under the truck, put them in my thing."
Right, yeah.
But they bring queens with them just in case it's a queenless colony and they need to get them into a new box. They're like, "Oh, luckily I had a queen on me," so you pull it out.
Like follow the queen.
Yeah. Huh. If it's a queenless colony, you need to add a queen, so they follow it. Yeah. The queens are just like, they have these little wooden boxes with a little carve out where the queen is and a little bit of wire mesh over it.
Yeah, I want to say I've seen that before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fascinating. And they just scoop them up, no problem, plop them in there, bare hands.
Yeah, that freaks me out.
Yeah.
I've watched some of that type. I don't follow anybody with that
Like
type of things,
the,
but I'll
the crazy
definitely
thing
watch
is like
stuff like that.
when they scoop them up, I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then instead of like sometimes like instead of like dumping them gently, they'll just like
They just like shake them
yeah.
off.
I'm like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
Yeah. But they like, don't they like puff the smoke and stuff like that? So they're like, yeah.
They do that at the end. Like once have done all the scooping, they'll
Yeah.
give it a couple puffs and get the rest out there.
Mad respect.
Yeah, I know, right?
Freaks me out.
It's so cool.
Freaks me out. Anyway.
Time for Q&A though.
Yeah, let's do it.
We are starting things off with Texas Cowboy 210.
Of course we are.
And the question is, what's the G-Shock of fountain pens? It can take a beating, get dirty, don't baby it, just works. The G-Shock being Casio's rugged, always working, very affordable watch.
Yeah.
Do you have a G-Shock?
I don't.
I do. It's my kayaking watch, yeah.
I will,
or my yard work watch.
For research purposes, I had to go on Casio's website and look at their G-Shock watches. Some of them are pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
There are some that like look. They've came out with some that are like super retro looking.
Yes.
Like they look really rad. Mine's just plain old black. $45. Bare bones G-Shock. Yeah, I got it just for just
for banging around.
Yeah. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So I totally get it. I think they're cool. I may or may not. Watches are another thing where I'm just like, okay, how many watches do I need? But I will say a lot of my watches, the batteries have died since COVID and I just have not replaced them. Yeah. So I have like 2 working watches right now, one of which I'm wearing at the moment, which I think you replaced the battery in this one.
I did.
Yep. And anyway, so G-Shock of fountain pens. Okay, so what is like, the standby, reliable, will always work kind of fountain pen? Now, let me say, I don't think there's one pen that's known as like the G-Shock of the fountain pen world. Like there's no pen I think that's been designed to be like the absolute most durable in all situations.
Because the G-Shock is made for that purpose.
Exactly. I don't think you can really have that with fountain pens so much. I mean, there's definitely some that are more durable than others. But
no one's really, tried and said this is that pen.
Well, I think with any fountain pen, if you bang it around a lot, you're definitely going to get ink like in the cap and stuff like that. Like just the nature of fountain pens and how they work, you're not going to get something that's like indestructible and like works flawlessly in all situations. There's physics involved with ink flowing through a feed that's going to cause a mess if you're like flinging it around too much.
It's a controlled leak.
Yeah, but
I always say it's just like getting a straw filled with water, plugging one end, and just holding that end. Like, you've got gravity,
or like lifting your finger slightly so that it drains out in a controlled fashion.
But if you take that straw, even though you've got your finger plugged, you start flinging it around, water's gonna
start going out of it. Yeah, it's kind of that way. But yeah, there's certainly ones like the bodies and nibs and stuff are more durable than most. So I think there's definitely some like workhorse pens that have like durable bodies, reliable nibs. I would say most of them are going to end up being steel nib pens just because steel is a more durable material. And then, also I think, G-Shock, they're on the more affordable end. They have some nicer ones that get up into like closer to $1,000 if you want to get like very fancy, like all metal ones and stuff like that. But most of them I think are like $100 to $200 kind of dollars.
Mine was $45.
Well, inflation's happened, so I don't know that that's really happening anymore. There's none that was $45. The cheapest one I saw on their site was like $100.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
I think so. Maybe I wasn't super researching that aspect of it. I could have missed some, but I don't know. So anyway, so I was thinking about like, okay, what pens kind of fall into that category? Just the really reliable workhorse pens. And I think the one that came to mind first for me was the Lamy Safari. That is just a durable workhorse, especially if you get like the matte finish, like the charcoal. It's a bang-around pen. It's a durable, it's maybe like ABS plastic. They're pretty sturdy. The nibs, they're steel nibs. They're pretty, you can replace them if you need to. It's pretty reliable writer. It's got a big thick clip on it. You can clip it onto whatever, I know people in the military that carry them in their like BDUs. I know other people that clip them in messenger bags and, people that are like border patrol agents and wear it as they like tote around on their ATVs all day. Like it's a pretty durable. So that's the one that comes to mind the most for me. I think the All-Star or anything kind of in that family could also be considered in there. Maybe slightly less durable just because the All-Star can, chip and dent and stuff like that a little bit, but it'll still work just fine. So also pretty durable. I think the Pilot Metropolitan would probably compare a little bit to the Safari, maybe not quite as much, but it's kind of in that similar price range. Very durable metal pen, very reliable nib. Pilot nibs are great. So I would kind of consider that in there. If you want to go to a gold nib, I think Lamy 2000 is a strong contender. That's a pretty dang durable pen, as long as you don't lose it like I lost mine. The black or the stainless steel. The stainless steel is going to be friggin' rock solid, So, but even still, the regular polycarbonate one is going to be very durable as well. I don't know anybody who's ever broken a 2000 unless they
did
really,
something they shouldn't
take
have.
it apart, try to remove the piston and strip the threads or something, but or dropping it directly on the nib from a full standing height or something like that. Lamy 2000 is going to take a licking. I think the Quaco Sport also could fall in that category, especially if you have any of the metal ones, like the brass or the raw aluminum or something like that. Those are going to be friggin' durable. Now, I don't find those nibs to be as consistent. So, the nibs all work just fine, but I don't know, I think some of those pens, they source out nibs maybe from different manufacturers. So it can be somewhat hit or miss on those pens. So, but for what they are, if you have a pen with a nib that you like on there, it's going to be very reliable, and the pen body itself is going to be very durable, even in the plastic version ones, like the Sport and the Ice and things like that. Those are going to be pretty durable. Supra and Lilliput too also would fall into that category. So yeah, Quaco all around has got some pretty durable pens. Even the Perkeo, for that matter, it's a pretty sturdy pen. So yeah, I would consider those in there. The Traveler's pen. So not a lot of options. One nib size, one pen option, unless they did the limited edition or something. That is my carport pen. I have literally had it in my cargo shorts, disassembling a carport in 95-degree heat, and it literally was functioning no different than any other time I've taken it anywhere. So that one, to me, is one of my favorite durable pens. And then I said a Schoen Design pen too, like a Schoen Design pocket pen. They're very small, very, very durable, rock solid pens. And even the finish that's on them, the anodized finish, is really durable too. So it's got some crazier finishes on it, which, maybe a lot of these other pens I mentioned here don't have as much of a design or a pattern to them. But I don't know about you. I haven't tried to abuse them or anything, but I think they hold up pretty darn well. Basically, it's bonded to the metal. So you would have to scratch it to the point where you're actually removing metal to get the color off of that pen. And then I'll give an honorable mention to the Pilot Varsity.
That was my pick.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Oh yeah, you did. Varsity. So it's different than the other pens on this list because it's not one that's going to withstand a lot of abuse in terms of it being rock solid, hard, impenetrable, but it's made of a softer plastic that's more of it's not like a hard brittle plastic. It's a softer, flexible plastic. So it's you can deform it, you can sit on it, crush it, whatever, but it's not going to snap and break, most likely. And the thing that I think makes this pen very reliable in terms of writing is it's got a wick feed. Now it's meant as a disposable pen, so it's not, that's where you could argue that it wouldn't fall into this category because it's basically meant to be thrown away after it's emptied. You can refill them though as a hack, but it's got this wick feed in there, which when you're talking about tossing a pen around and flicking it and stuff like that, the wick feed is going to really prevent that from happening a lot. There's that and the Yookers that I can think has a wick feed. I can't even think of anything else.
Yookers isn't a fountain pen though.
It's not. Well, yeah, it's not. So is there any other fountain pen you can think of that has a wick feed?
I believe
there's got to be something else.
I believe the Petite.
Okay, which they don't have in the US, the Pilot Petite one. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's got a wick as well. So other than Pilot, I don't know that anybody has a wick feed. Now there's going to be a disadvantage. It's not going to work well with shimmer, and certain inks are probably going to clog more easily. Anything pigmented is not.
But you can't put one of those in a Varsity.
You would have to hack it. You could do it if you're really determined, but especially for the price, what it is, I think it's great to just have those on hand. That's what you should be carrying around, Dave.
Yeah,
that's what you should carry around, so that if anybody ever needs to borrow your pen, you're only out a couple of bucks. Anyway, that's what I got.
Yeah, I agree with the Varsity. I think that's the most G-Shock version. If you can take into account reliability, consistency, affordability, and durability.
It's a good performing pen. Yeah.
It does the job.
Yeah.
The only drawback is what you said. It is technically disposable.
Yeah.
So,
and your color options are limited because it comes preloaded.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my pick for the most G-Shocky of pens.
Okay, fair enough. And you're more credible than I because I don't own a G-Shock. So,
Yeah.
But maybe I will.
I will say I didn't buy mine from the Casio website, so that might have been why mine was more affordable.
Could be. Or maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they don't have everything on their website.
Yeah.
Or maybe
mine was like the thinnest, tiniest, most bare bones version of the G-Shock.
Yeah.
But I did buy pre-COVID, so maybe they just exploded in price.
I mean, it wouldn't be the only thing that's gone up in price since COVID. So anyway, let's move on. Next question. Eschino13 says, I want to flex on the upcoming family holidays events. What are some pens I can buy under $500?
So you want to flex, like you want to show off some fountain pens.
You should buy 10 to 20 pens.
All of them. Yeah, just walk around with all of them lined up in a bandolier.
10 to 20 varsities, done.
Oh, yeah.
You'll flex.
Just make a necklace out of them, yeah. Honestly, just having a fountain pen is kind of a weird flex. Like, that's already going to be a conversation starter. So if you're looking to be like, get people to ask questions, they're going to, if you are using a fountain pen.
Jinhao Dragon. There you go.
That's the thing. I mean, in the U.S. anyway. I guess if you're using one in Germany or somewhere, no one's going to ask questions about that. But in the U.S., yeah, you pull out a fountain pen during family dinner at Thanksgiving, you're going to get some eyes on you. But I picked a couple of them that were under $500, which is a huge price range, by the way. You get a lot of options for $500 and under.
Oh, yeah.
I picked a couple options that I think have things that you can do with them, visually speaking. So I thought about the Dialogue CC because we mentioned that. Mm-hmm. That one is a really unique looking pen, but the fact that it has a retractable nib is absolutely fascinating. Even somebody that is familiar with fountain pens is going to see that and do a double take because that's just not something that happens very often. And if it does, it usually happens in the manner that the Pilot Vanishing Point has popularized the retractable option. This one is a twist version, which also the capless does, but the CC is very unique. It just looks, I mean, it doesn't, if you held it, just looking at it, you don't even know what it is. It could be mascara for all you know, but no, it's a fountain pen. Look, beep. It's cool. Speaking of the VP, the Vanishing Point LS comes to mind as well. So the Vanishing Point is cool, definitely interesting for somebody that isn't expecting a retractable fountain pen. But the LS flies under the radar a little bit because while, yes, it clicks like the standard Vanishing Points do, it has a ring that rotates as you extend the nib, and then you flick that ring to then retract the nib. It's a really cool design. It's a really cool action and set of mechanics that is eye-catching and really fun to fiddle with as well. So that one, if someone sees you working on that, they're going to be like, what the heck is that? And you can tell them about it. So that's definitely a conversation starter as well. Keeping with Pilot, the Pilot Justice 95 also flies under the radar like the LS does.
Yeah.
But that one's a really cool pen too. On the outside, it doesn't look very special, but the nib is really unique. Now, this one isn't going to, from a distance, it's not going to look crazy or weird, but if you did want to talk about something, the fact that it has an extendable bar that, rises out over the nib that, in practice changes the hardness and softness of the nib by either restricting or allowing the nib to have some movement to it is very, very unique. And to my knowledge, the only modern fountain pen that has a feature like that. So that one, definitely something to talk about. And as far as looks go, oh, by the way, sorry, the Dialogue CC is $350. The Vanishing Point LS is $480, so right at your limit. The Justice 95 is $336, and the next one I'm going to talk about is $486, so very close to the limit of $500. But the Tibaldi Bononia LE, we've got very, very few of those left, but it is discounted right now to $486, so officially under the limit. Those nibs are the coolest looking nibs we currently have in stock, in my opinion. They look so freaking rad. They have like an eagle with like wings bursting or light flying out, and it's a two-tone nib. This nib just looks incredible, and I think it's a showstopper nib for sure. They would definitely catch my eye. So if you just want like a eye-catching nib, that thing shows it off. And then the Kaweco Supra, any Supra, but the aluminum black one is the newest one, and I got my hands on that.
Sharp.
I got my hands on that last week. It is so cool, Brian. At $140 for the black aluminum, if you wanted to really catch some eyes, you could open the pen, remove that middle section, put the pen back together into its more compact format, people are gonna be like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you taking that thing apart like it's a, some sort of rifle? But it's definitely eye-catching, definitely fiddleable if you wanted just something to play with, and definitely something that requires some explanation as well. So I think that one might be my pick because I actually really want that pen, but also a good choice at $140. And then finally, the Shown Design Pocket 6, which Brian mentioned in the last question, at $170 is a great conversation piece as well. Like the Supra, it is compact and then full size, so seeing what happens there is unique. But the dark matter version that we sell at our website has just a really unique look. There's no other fountain pen that looks like this at all, unless you go to Ian Schoen's website, which I definitely recommend you should do. He's got a lot of really wild pens there. But definitely a showstopper, definitely a conversation starter. And once you get the conversation started, you can talk about how it's made in Philadelphia 100%, with the exception of, the nib and feed in this case. You can go on to talk about how Ian makes his own nibs and feeds also, and how you don't have one yet, but you're going to get one. But a lot of stuff to talk about, especially if you're interested in talking about something locally made. So Shown Design Pocket 6, good option as well. So those are my picks.
Nice. I will not expound.
Great.
For the sake of time.
All right, well, let's move on to question number 3, and that is from Kristen with an N. As far as without an N, which would be Kristen. All right. Can I work for Goulet Pens from Michigan? JK, maybe. But then Kristen with an N goes on to add an addendum, which says, but seriously, can you talk about your onboarding process for new employees?
Yeah, so I'll say we're not currently hiring remote workers, unfortunately, but you never know what the future might hold. We do like to have everybody out of the office here at Richmond because we're a product-based business. So getting your hands on the products is super helpful. We're operating in like a hybrid setting ever since COVID, but everybody's based out of Richmond. So if we open up anything, we'll have it on our website.
And we do have everybody in the office at least a couple times a week.
Yeah, it's kind of important for culture reasons and getting to show people products and, all those things. But anyway, onboarding. So, we're a small company, 30 people. Maybe it doesn't seem as small in the fountain pen world, but in terms of like businesses in general, we're like,
I think that
most, dust,
I think like under 1,000 is usually considered small business, right?
Yeah, 500 to 1,000, it, depending on who you're asking, is generally considered a small business. Yeah. Under 500 for some groups, under 1,000 for others. That's still a lot bigger than us. Either way you look at it. So, onboarding with 30 people, we're not onboarding people like constantly. So it's pretty hands-on, and culture-wise, like we have a lot of people who've been here like pushing a decade or over a decade. So when somebody new is here, it's notable and everybody gets to know everybody. So it's pretty immersive. We have like multi-step interviews with lots of conversations about fit, for the role, fit for the culture and stuff like that. So that's really where the process begins. But actually onboarding, like say you've gone through the process, you selected the job and all the paperwork is signed, all that kind of stuff. First thing is there's a bunch of HR and legal stuff to take care of, signing up for benefits and all those types of things, getting things like your IT stuff, your computer setup, passwords, access to all your software, that kind of stuff. We really got to take care of all that stuff, access to the building, getting your key fob and all these things. So that's like first couple of days. And then basically it kind of depends a little bit on the role, but there's a lot of product knowledge training that has to happen. Like you really can't do what you need to do here without understanding what fountain pens are and how they work and what makes them different. Some of that, hands-on.
And it's hard to expect that.
We really don't expect that from anybody. It's a nice to have, but it's not an expectation. Watching a lot of videos, we have a ton of videos. So honestly, we have a lot of great educational resources, but we don't just like turn people to our YouTube channel and be like, here you go, watch 2,000 videos. We have a curated list of videos, depending on which role and how, immersive their knowledge needs to be. We'll do some hands-on training, have different types of pens, have different people on the team involved in the training so they get to work with different people too. We got some documentation and stuff like that as well. But honestly, all this is ongoing because we're all constantly learning about product knowledge, but it's much more immersive at the onset. And then some training varies by role. If you're in like a customer care or a marketing role, it's gonna be a lot more hands-on product training, a lot more, involvement in like who are our customers and their preferences, things like that. And then and certain softwares and stuff that we use to manage each of these are going to be more specialized. Versus if you're in like a fulfillment or operations, it's going to be a lot more stuff based on like the computer and certain like automations and spreadsheets and those types of things. Warehouse layout and receiving process, production. How do we make our products and stuff like that. Is going to be more focused for those types of roles. And then basically for everybody that starts, we'll have weekly check-ins with the leader or supervisor. That'll spread out a little bit more over time as you're here longer, but especially at the onset, checking in on a very regular basis to see how the training is going, see how everything's working out. And then periodic check-ins with the HR director as well, just to make sure for all that HR legally stuff. And then we usually have somewhat of a milestone at like 30 and 90 days for anybody new. 30 days is like, okay, oh, I didn't even realize that you weren't invited to that Slack channel or that you weren't whatever, catching some of the stuff that we might have missed in the onboarding process. And then talking about like additional training and support, how are they doing at that point? Because really what we want to do is have like a mostly fully like onboarded, ready to go, kind of fully up to speed in their role at 90 days. That's the goal. It might be a little more than that if it's a more, complicated role and it requires like a ton of product knowledge, it might have a little longer lens to it, but really by 90 days, anybody new here should feel settled in, like they are more autonomous with their role, and like they've gotten all the training and support they needed. And in 90 days is a really great place to check there. And then ongoing, at that point, you're still new, but you're not brand new. We do a mid-year check-in that always happens in September. And then we do an annual review with a pay evaluation as well, with some comp studies and stuff like that happens in March. So, pretty much wherever you happen to be in the cycle, may kind of catch up if you're hired like the middle of summer. Your 90-day might fall kind of at the mid-year. So then your next check-in, like really official, like eval style check-in will be at the annual one. And you just get it kind of picked up in the cycle with everybody else there. So that's pretty much it.
And it keeps getting better, which is really cool.
We try, yeah.
It's not like we have it's
pretty involved, really.
Yeah, it is. In multiple step interviews. We don't have a kind of set it and forget it mentality when it comes to onboarding. Every time we onboard somebody, we learn how to do it better, and we implement that across the entire company, regardless of what department that they're in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely changes, but it always changes for the better, in my opinion. I think.
Yeah, we're trying. We should always be improving, right? Like you always want to try to, onboard, hire, train better than the last time you did it. You're building upon your past experiences and stuff like that. So yeah, that's more or less our process. It's been like a decade plus of hard knocks and learning the process and trying different things. And I feel like we've gotten it done pretty good at this point.
I think so. Like the last person we hired, you had planned out like 3 weeks in advance, like day to day. It was
we got it down pretty good at this point. We use like
immersive.
Yeah, we use we use software like ClickUp, to manage, or you could use Asana, Trello, any of those types of like project management softwares. So we use ClickUp, and we have templates in there for onboarding and various things, because it's like even just getting the computer set up. We're an online business, so it's like, if you don't have a computer day one when you come in, you kind of can't do anything. So, making sure that we have the computer in, that all the, software is updated, that we've set up things like all the firewall and the whatever, and then we have access and accounts set up for everything they're going to need to do, on our website. And whatever.
I will say there's also some fun stuff. Like in the first 2 weeks, you usually go out and have, company lunches with several different teams. You have,
true.
You go out to lunch with your immediate supervisor. You go out to lunch with your team. There are a lot of,
there's a lot of that. That's,
there's efforts that we make to, provide, obviously there's the skills aspect, but there's also the camaraderie aspect.
Yeah, the culture aspect.
We do stuff like that intentionally as well.
Definitely, yeah. A lot of mixing people on different teams, just so, you're going to be working closely with the people. If you're hired into a marketing role, you're going to work closely with people who are doing marketing stuff. But, you're often going to be collaborating. It's like if say you're a photographer, you're going to have a relationship with the people who are ordering the products and people who are receiving the products, and those who are like putting them back on the shelf and QC and stuff like that. So it helps for everybody to get to kind of intermix and mingle, and try to mix plenty of that in there too in the onboarding process. So there you go. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yep.
That's what we got. All right, Drew, now we have some rapid fire questions here.
We do. Most of these are pretty simple. Some are like, worth answering, but not worth answering for a long time. So some of these I've been sitting on for a little while. I did want to answer them, but they didn't feel like full-fledged questions. Yeah. And then some of them are just straight up dumb, but I still wanted to answer them. So we're just gonna jump right into it. I think there are about 7 here, but we'll just go back and forth.
Yeah, let's do it.
This one I saw. I'm like, well, bro, this is such a Brian question.
I saw this and I was like, yeah, I want to look this up.
So, but I'm like, I'm not gonna make this a full question. You'll hear why in a second. All right. So Sandry says, how many Namiki Emperors would it take to circle the equator one time? I'm like, well, Brian would love to I'm gonna research this.
I'm glad you clarified the equator, because the distance around the equator is different than the distance around the poles, because the Earth is not perfectly round.
All right.
Because it spins, it's slightly more, wider at the equator. So that? I looked it up. I wasn't able to find like a to the millimeter size of the circumference of the equator, but the diameter of the equator is around 12,756 kilometers, which is 7,917.5 miles. So pretty long. It's going to be a lot of pens. So, hey, future Brian here. I was looking back at this question in the Pencast, and I realized I totally did the wrong calculation. I used diameter of the Earth instead of circumference, which is a pretty meaningful difference. So when I explained this whole question, I actually did the calculation for diameter, but what I meant to do was circumference. So keep that in mind, and then I'll share you the circumference stuff in a minute. The thing I thought about, though, you have the Namiki Emperor.
This is what cracked me up, because this is the most Brian thing you could possibly do.
I just wanted to be accurate, because you have the flat top Emperor, and then you have the round top ones. And honestly, it's a bit of an optical illusion. I thought the flat top ones were a lot longer. They are slightly longer by 0.9 millimeters.
So you discovered that they're virtually identical.
Yes.
And yet
I still distinguish them, because when you multiply it out that many times, it makes a meaningful difference, and I'll explain.
Okay.
So the flat top version, we measured at 175 millimeters long. Now, granted, these pens are handmade, so they could fluctuate a little bit. So we took the measurement that we had on our website. All right, so to correct myself here, the circumference of the Earth at the equator is 24,901 miles, or 40,075 kilometers. So using that math for the same length of the pens, if you have the flat top Emperor, it would be 229 million pens. And the round top would be 183,802 pens. So a little bit more than what I said in the beginning. Does it really matter? I don't know, but I just thought I should probably be accurate in my math. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this question. Anyway, thank you for the mental exercise. That was a lot of fun. I had fun putting that together. So if you got an extra $730 billion laying around, you can buy a bunch of emperors and wrap around the Earth. All right, you ready for a question, Drew?
Yes.
Did I break your brain?
Yes.
All right, Brad the Bear says, can you do a JOWo tour?
Hey, Brad. No.
Okay, next question.
No, we've looked into it, and that's JOWo does a lot with a lot of other companies. Like, it's not something that they're gonna open their doors to. They might for companies that like actively work with them and like help manufacture them. Yeah, sure, maybe, probably. But they're still not going to let them film in there.
I've never seen anything on a public tour.
No.
Like anything that's shown publicly.
No.
And yeah, I think
so even if
keep it close to the chest.
Even if we could, there would be no filming. So we couldn't say or see anything.
Close to the chest? Close to the vest? Close to the vest?
Vest is on the chest, Brian.
Is that the phrase? Oh, that reminds me. I had a conversation with Rachel the other day. It was hilarious.
Oh boy. Did she misunderstand a saying?
No.
Oh?
So this is a total tangent, and I'm just injecting this in here. Maybe I should save it. Let me save.
Don't forget it.
I'm gonna make note of it. I'm gonna save it for what's happening.
Okay.
Because it is like related to a family conversation we had. Okay. Made a note for myself. Okay, there.
But yeah, no, JOWo tour is not going to happen. And
I
if
mean,
it, and
if
if
we
it does,
could do it, I would do it in a
yeah,
heartbeat.
even if we could do it, we couldn't tell you about it. So
We've never seen it for ourselves. We've heard it's amazing.
yeah,
I would love to go see it.
Yeah.
And then I could just tell you how awesome it is and not tell you anything about it. That'd be cool.
yeah.
I'll take that.
And our friend Hill Ari is back with another, classic Hillary ridiculous question. She also asked how's Drew's tool pen Halloween costume coming along. Not going to add that because I'm not going to dignify that at all. Anyway,
Sort of just did though.
Hillary asks, "Is a notebook a sandwich?"
Well, Merriam-Webster says that a sandwich is 2 or more slices of bread or a split roll having a filling in between. So I would say no. Technically, a notebook would not be a sandwich unless you insert it between 2 pieces of bread or into a roll, and then you would have a notebook sandwich.
So what's in between the bread doesn't matter.
According to Merriam-Webster. But I will say, this sent me down a rabbit hole that I'll allude to as my fun fact for the day. We're going to get into...
A split roll is a hot dog bun.
What is the definition of a sandwich? Yeah, it is.
So a hot dog is a sandwich, definitively.
Well,
Merriam-Webster.
That's what we'll discuss.
Split roll.
Is Merriam-Webster the defining body on what things are?
It's a dictionary, yeah.
I don't know. We'll debate that in the fun fact.
How can you debate the dictionary?
Oh, I'll tell you.
Oh boy,
we'll get there.
Oh god. All right, give me another one.
All right. Corgi Kaiju stickers when?
Oh,
from N3.
Okay. Stay tuned for that N3 because yes, I made Corgi Kaiju stickers. If you remember, there was a pencast where we were asked what we would design if we could design any Namiki Emperor Makie thing, and I picked a Corgi Kaiju, some monstrous corgi coming out of a volcano with
it's pretty epic.
Beastly features. It was epic, so epic in fact that I commissioned an artist to actually make one, and the sticker we gave away at the DC Pen Show when we did our 100th episode live. So if you were not there, you did not get one, and I'm sorry about that. It's a very specific sticker that I didn't want to put for sale on the website. That there's so many people are gonna be like, "What the heck is that?" And are there really enough pencast people to buy that? I don't know, probably not, but. Stay tuned. I'm going to figure out a way to see if I can get that in your hands. We've got some other stickers
some ideas
in the works too. So I've got some plans for it, but they're in process. So stay tuned and I will update you. But I will say that I'm going to do my best to find a way to make that available for sale. So
there you go.
Next up, Evie Williams says or asks, would we see a 0.7 or 0.9 Goulet stub?
You would see one if we made one.
Oh.
But we do not.
Can we?
We cannot. I'm not going to say no, never, because it's not like I would refuse to do it.
Do we need to do that JOWo tour and then do it?
There you go. When we do our JOWo tour, we will get that commissioned. I mean,
is there demand for that?
I doubt it, to be honest with you.
That's a very specific nib.
So here's the thing.
And who else does that other than like Nemesign?
Like many things in this world, you can do whatever you want if you have enough money. So yes, if we threw enough money at JOWo or any other nib maker, we could get anything done. Do we have that money? Would it make sense? Would people buy it? Those are all the questions that, you just...
Those are all the questions that the answer is no.
Those are the questions that kill the joy
Yeah.
to our hypothetical situation. So basically, we can offer things that JOWo's already making because we are not selling nibs in the quantity that JOWo or any nib maker, honestly, needs to produce things to have like a viable business model. They need to producing, I'm not joking, millions and millions of nibs. Billions and billions. They need to produce a crud load of nibs, and we don't even approach like fart off of a gnat's butt.
Which is less than a crud
amount.
load. Farts off a gnat's butt's here. Crud load is like
way higher. Yeah. So it's just we are such an insignificant quantity in terms of what they would need to do something kind of custom like this. If they were to offer something standard, like to whatever company that wanted to buy them, they were already going to make them. Sure, we could buy them, and it might make sense for us to buy the minimum quantity that they would set out for us. But even then, it would be doubtful, and even then, it would we couldn't do it in different finishes and stuff like that. So it's kind of thing like we would have to do something custom, and I can guarantee you we wouldn't have the demand for it, especially because like our nibs are they're sold as spare nibs. They're not on pens. we don't sell that many nibs in the grand scheme of things because it doesn't fit all pens. You know what I mean? It's kind of obscure. So I would love to be able to do it, but it's not realistic in the near term that it's gonna happen. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. Anyway, next question, Drew. Mecca Battaglia asks, Drew, can you show us your 3-watch collection? With a question mark and an exclamation mark.
I added an alarm for myself this morning.
I was wondering, I was like, is this going to be a denim jacket situation here?
No.
Did you bring your watches?
I did.
All right.
So I've said before,
I'm sitting here looking at your watches the whole time. It didn't actually register in my brain.
I have more than 3, but I really just rotate through 3. I have some.
Okay, so you're a liar then.
I have a Kermit watch that has a dead battery. I have my G-Shock that I wear.
You were wearing that Kermit watch hard, though, before the battery died.
Yeah. It's been I
would consider that.
It's been over a year.
I mean, most of my watches, the batteries died at the start of COVID.
Yeah, it's been inactive
so they're
for
going
quite
on
a long time.
3-4 years of dead battery.
Yeah. So right now I have 3 that I run through. So
all right, what do you got?
This one is my Citizen Eco Drive. It is a Star Wars watch. It has half Rebel Alliance symbol, half Imperial symbol with a red and blue lightsaber as the minute and hour hand.
Nerdtastic.
And then you've got Darth Vader and Luke fighting here on the back. So this is an interesting one because it's solar powered or light powered. The Eco Drive.
It's not powered by the strength of the Force you carry.
That too, obviously. The Force is my ally.
Is that right? That's how lightsabers are powered, right? It's through it's like a crystal or something.
Kyber crystal, Brian. Yeah.
Kyber. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have cracked this door open. I can't swim in this pool.
That's okay. So yeah, that's one. I wear this is kind of like my formal-ish watch because it's got a metal band. My other ones don't have metal bands. Actually, this one started with a metal band. I took it off. This one is a Tissot PR100. This is my nice watch. This is the one I did the most research on. I said I want one nice watch, from a nice brand. This is an automatic. It's got a clear back.
I like automatic watches.
It's just a simple black face, chrome case.
What kind of band is that? Is it like a
This is a canvas. Yeah.
Canvas?
It's canvas. It's a Barton strap. They're cheap. They're only they're $23. So, but I had a gray one. It got destroyed. Replaced it with a black one, but it came with a silver metal thing that I got rid of because I wanted this one to be more of an everyday thing. So yeah, Tissot PR100. It's small, and for an automatic, it's actually really narrow. Thin, which I like a lot. Cool. I have small wrists, so it doesn't look super beefy.
What's the face diameter on these watches? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. I think that the strap I bought for this one, I think was 22 millimeters or 21. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. I just remember.
Is that the width of the strap?
Yeah. Okay. So, but anyway, and then this one is on the beefier side, not an automatic.
It is beefy, yeah.
This one is a DeLorean DMC Alpha. So this is an actual DeLorean watch. It's got the DMC logo there in the middle. It has a nice 80s vibe to it. It definitely looks retro enough, but definitely has some modern vibe to it as well.
Yeah.
So this one, they don't make anymore. Like the DeLorean itself, it only was in production for a couple of years and then they stopped. So they don't make it anymore. But it's got a nice, cool, DeLorean etched in on the back. I'll take some pictures for you. But yeah, I rotate through these 3. So this one is just a quartz, battery powered. This one is an Eco Drive, so solar/light. It actually hangs out just fine in the closet, so it doesn't need direct light. And then automatic. So I've got 3 different types of charge. So at any given time, I'm not dealing with 3 different battery changes or 3 different winding scenarios or anything like that. So I like the variety. I like them all. They're all blackish gray, so they go with a number of different things. And this one I can swap out the bands if I'm feeling putting an orange or a blue on it or something like that. Ooh. It's not super challenging there. So none of them are over $500, so I don't really spend a ton on there.
Watches can get so expensive; it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not that person. I think that the Tissot it was on sale. I got it for I think $350, which was the max I was willing to spend. But I did a lot of research and I talked to a lot of people whom I trust, and they said it was a good buy. Maybe it was just $300 actually, but I'm very happy with it. So cool. Yeah, those are my 3. Rotate through those.
Nice.
And then of course the Casio if I'm kayaking or something.
While you were answering the next question after. I was just looking up Casio
Mhm.
watches on their site. $75 was the cheapest
75.
that I
Okay.
could find. Men's watch that I could find on
Gotcha.
their site.
And that was just the thin, plasticky.
basic
Yeah.
AF
Okay.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have some that are like $6,000-$7,000 though.
Good
I don't know
Lord.
what makes them that expensive, but I'm sure that
Some of those
this
are
one's
so-
$6,400
Some
here.
of those are so chunky too.
I don't know what is happening. I don't know that much about watches. I like some watches, and it's just it's one of those things that like I started to fall down that rabbit hole a little bit, and then I was like, it just started to feel like work. You know what I mean? I'm sure some people feel that way about fountain
This is the one I
pens, too.
have. $49.99.
Yeah. Okay, so list price is $75. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the one they have listed here. So
Yeah.
you can probably buy it cheaper
Yeah.
off their site. They had one on here though that I'll show. I'm diverting too much, but there was one on here that I saw that was like, oh, this is so Drew.
Oh, I've seen them.
They have a ton of them.
They have
There's
some of them
so
are like
many G-Shocks.
I know some of them are like super vapor wavy, like synthy. And
Yeah, they definitely.
I know.
are.
I've been tempted, but like the point is for it to be just a beat 'em up watch. And if I spend more than $50, I'm like, no. I'm now stepping out of why the G-Shock is appealing.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find the other one, but it wasn't a crazy expensive one. Anyway, doesn't
All right.
matter. Doesn't matter.
Last question is from John, and John asks, why do so many rollerball pens have caps on them, like a fountain pen, yet the Retro 51s are uncapped?
Good question. And this is where I was like, I didn't fully know the answer to this. And
I always
did
just assumed
some
it was.
research.
I just always assumed it wasn't to keep things from drying out. It was just to keep things from, like, accidentally writing on things.
Sure,
So
yeah.
you need to just keep the tip covered up. And if you have a retractable one, you don't need to keep the tip covered up.
So I will preface my answer to this question by saying I'm not an expert on rollerballs, but I know enough to be dangerous. So I researched it a little bit, a mini deep dive.
Okay.
Here. So I went onto Retro's website because I was thinking like, ever since I've known Retro, they've had the Tornado. That's it. That's all. And they have some other like pencil or something like that, but it's the Tornado and the Tornado fountain pen. And I know that when we buy them from Retro, there's a couple different versions of the rollerball. They have like a slimmer version, this regular size one, and then they have the Big Shot, which is a fatter version.
Mm-hmm.
But they all basically use the same refills. So the standard Retro pen, like a normal pen, will come with a ballpoint refill. So it's actually a ballpoint pen.
Mm-hmm.
We want nothing to do with ballpoints, so we buy them with rollerball refills. So every pen that we are in, we've worked with Retro for a while now, so they know the deal. They know we want nothing to do with ballpoints, but we are buying all of our pens as rollerball versions, but it is a ballpoint. Because when you look at most other like higher end companies that are like selling fountain pens and stuff like that, they'll usually have a ballpoint, a rollerball, and a fountain version of a given model. And usually the ballpoint, like use the Lamy 2000 as an example, usually the ballpoint is going to be either like a twist or a click or something like that. It's not going to have a removable cap. The rollerball will usually have a removable cap. And then the fountain, of course, will have a removable cap as well. So usually the rollerball and the fountain are more closely like design oriented towards each other. And the ballpoint is sort of its own thing. And same with pencil, right? That's pretty common, at least with the brands that I'm more familiar with. I'm sure there's exceptions to all that, but it is. So I was never really thought about it, but you know, with this question, I
just made an assumption.
I was like, yeah, now that you mention it, that is maybe not the typical thing. But so for one, if that helps to know that it's basically a ballpoint pen, but we only offer them as roller balls. So you can do that with most ballpoint pens. You can usually get a gel rollerball refill. There's a lot of proprietary cartridges and refills and stuff like that with different brands, so your mileage may vary on that. But I know when I started out making pens, most of the pen kits and stuff like that I was buying were ballpoint pens, but I would swap out the refills with gel roller balls. So
isn't the G2 a rollerball?
The G2 is a roller ball.
And that's not capped.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be capped.
Oh.
So this is where it started to go down a deep dive a little bit, and I was like, I'm gonna like get my ankles wet and then get out of the pool.
I did not expect this.
Yeah, I know. Neither did I.
Okay.
So I went on to Retro's site. So they were founded in 1990. They were not founded in 1951, like you would maybe think. The whole reason it's called Retro. I don't know why the 51, to be honest with you. I probably should know that. But they were founded in 1990, but they have a whole Retro Americana kind of a vibe. So you would it would be very natural to assume that maybe their founding year was 1951, but it wasn't. It was 1990. So it's cool. If you go on their site, they have a whole vintage flair to everything. So they actually have copies of their older catalogs, product catalogs from like 1990, the early 90s. So I pulled up their product catalog from 1990 to see like what did their pens look like then. And they had one picture on there that was, I'll see if we can post it on here. But they did not have the rollerballs like this. They didn't have the Tornado back then. That came a little later. I think it was like the late 90s. So they had your regular like twist ballpoint. They had a removable cap rollerball and the fountain. So I was like, oh, interesting. So at some point, they kind of went that route, probably just to consolidate a little bit. Or maybe they just really liked this style of the pen, and just kind of went with it for both ballpoint and rollerball. So in doing a little more research, though, what I found is that most rollerball pens have caps for the same reason that fountain pens do, is to keep the ink from drying out in the refill. Now, technically, the ball that's on the end of that refill is sort of sealing it a bit. But even still, like you notice even with a G2 or something like that, if you leave that thing sitting there long enough, you got to like kind of get it started, or you might get some like barnacles that kind of come out of the rollerball tip, especially if like you leave it in your car or something like that. So it is, still exposed to the environment by not having it capped. So when you have a nicer rollerball, especially, I think that's part of why they tend to cap them, is because it keeps it from drying out, and it just makes for an overall nicer writing experience. Whereas maybe with disposable pens like the G2s and stuff, it's not as much of an issue. Or what I read is that different manufacturers will actually formulate the rollerball ink a little differently if it's going to be something that they know is going to be in like the more click retractable kind of things. Like even with Pilot, if you look at some of their stuff, like they have the regular G2, just like the clear sort of refill. I'm not sure if they standardize and use that on everything, but some brands will have like a cheaper refill, and then they'll have like a really nice like metal cartridge refill. I don't know for a fact that this is standard across all pen brands, but from what I read kind of anecdotally is that some manufacturers will have a slightly different formulation to the ink if it's intended for pens that do not cap, so that it resists like the drying out a little bit more. Whereas it might be a little different if it's capped. So I don't know to what degree that is. I don't know if that's the case with Retro or whatever, but they have their own proprietary refills. So maybe I would imagine they've like tested and, suited their roller balls for, being able to be in the open air essentially. I mean, it's still kind of protected. Like when it's retracted into the pen, it's still not like openly exposed, but it's not totally sealed. Right. So I don't know. So that's what I did. And then I thought of a couple of other brands that we're somewhat familiar with. We don't carry any of these, but ones that have non-cap rollerball pens. One of them is Caran d'Ache. Remember their 849? It's like their classic hexagonal style. So they have that in the ballpoint, but they also have that in a rollerball. And it's just a click, kind of click rollerball. Lamy has the Lamy Tipo.
Love the Tipo.
Which is cool. That is a click retractable rollerball, as well as the Lamy Swift. That is also a click retractable rollerball. So it's not uncommon. It's not.
Wait, which one's the little tiny one?
That's the.
I thought that was the Tipo.
Yeah.
I like the little stumpy nugget.
What is that one called? The Stumpy Nugget. I know what you're talking about.
You have one. It's white.
I called it the Tipo, but I don't think that is the Tipo. Lamy Tipo. I think the Lamy Tipo is. Yeah.
Is that the thing with the clip that goes back beyond the...
Yes.
Oh, no, I don't like that. Get that out of
that's
here.
The Tipo.
No, I want the little stumpy nugget.
Oh, what is that one called? I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
No one knows what we're talking about at all. This is just between you and me.
All right. We'll have to bring the stumpy nugget next time.
Yeah. But anyway, so yes, it's not super weird. It's just how they do it, and Retro just does it that way because that's how they do it. And you can do it one way or the other. It doesn't really matter.
That's the short version.
Yeah. I could have just said that and saved you all that, but I already did that research, and I thought it sounded kind of interesting.
That's very interesting.
So, there you go. It's really
news to me.
Mostly a design choice. There you go. So if you want to ask us some questions, especially if you are a audio listener, you can email us at pencast@gouletpens.com. Otherwise, you can just leave us drop us a comment.
Also, if you're an audio listener and you are using an app where you can select chapters from this podcast, let me know at pencast at gouletpens.com, because when I'm publish the podcast, I make chapters in a separate area rather than just like putting them in the description. But I went to Spotify, and Spotify doesn't actually give me clickable chapters in it.
Really?
So I don't know what app actually does that, but I'm doing an extra effort thinking that there's an app out there that actually does have like navigatable chapters applied to it. But if it's not doing that, I'm going to stop doing it.
If it's not doing that on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
I haven't tried Apple yet.
Okay.
I've only tried Spotify. So I don't know. Let me know if that benefits you. And if it benefits even a couple of you, I'll keep doing it. But I don't know.
There you go.
Anyway.
Cool.
Pen Spotlight.
Let's do a spotlight on the TWSBI Kai.
Before we do the spotlight, though, Brian,
Yeah.
I wanted to let everybody know that I went and spoke to Jessica on our customer care team. And I said, Jessica, what ink do you think that our Pencast followers would like to try for free this week? And she said Colorverse Mystic Mountain.
Ooh.
And I agree. That is a lovely, lovely ink. It has a nice softness to it with some shimmer. It's a really unique color, one of the more unique colors that Colorverse has. So if you wanted to order at any point from the Goulet Pen Company between now, October 6th, and October 13th, if you add the coupon code MYSTIC in all caps and add a 2 ml sample of Colorverse Mystic Mountain to your shopping cart, it will be free for you. So
Nice.
There you go. That is Jessica's recommendation to you. Hope you enjoy it.
And if you don't, tell Jessica. I'm just kidding.
And now we can do a pen spotlight.
Let's do it. All right,
What
folks.
is that, Brian?
This is the TWSBI nameless model Kai. It's new. You can't get it, so don't get excited about it.
What sort of trim is that? Is that rose gold?
This is rose gold.
Ah.
So they've done rose gold before, which I'll show you in a second. But yeah, it doesn't look like your normal TWSBI, right?
No one would think that was a TWSBI.
And you know, Fleck Boy, this is
Yeah.
got your fleckiness.
I gravitate toward chunk.
Chunk. You like your chunk. Oh, here's your chunk. Yeah, it's got the TWSBI logo engraved in the top
Nice.
here.
That is
That's kinda
legit
cool.
engraved.
Yeah, it is. It's like relief cut engraved. It's got the TWSBI logo here at the center band, and that's it. Now you unscrew it, and look at that.
Oh my.
Ink window, really crystal clear ink window. Like, I was kind of surprised.
Why doesn't
when I
TWSBI
saw
do this all the time?
I mean, they normally don't need ink windows because their pens are
But
demonstrators.
this looks so. But I think that a lot of people might want something different from TWSBI.
Well,
They do
good
because these
question.
things sell out in like 2 seconds.
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they're more expensive, so it's like, I think it's mixed. I think some people they don't think of this style when they think of TWSBI,
I want to think of this style.
right?
It looks
Like,
lovely.
It looks really good.
This blue is
The
sharp.
blue with the rose gold really lights my fire, right?
Yeah.
And it's a piston as well,
Show me.
which of course TWSBI knows. And it's this, it's the same piston mechanism that you get on your normal TWSBI pen. So if you got it gives you a TWSBI wrench, it gives you silicone grease just like any other TWSBI pen. So you can put the wrench in there, you can disassemble your piston. That's pretty cool.
I love it.
So you will not have the same troubles of having like inks, maybe clinging on the inside of the barrel, trying to clean it out, or if you have little droplets of water left over, it drives you crazy. You don't have to worry about that on this one.
Well, I don't know. You might not. You might just know it's there, and that can freak you out.
Well, then you will just fill it with ink, and then it won't matter.
Kind of like if a tree
anymore.
falls in the woods, right?
Right. So there you go. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, it's a pen. Let's see here. Does it post? So it can. Yeah, let's see here. I'm posting it. Yeah, it posts, but it like kind of posts is like sitting on the ring a little bit.
It's pretty
And
far
I'm
out
like,
too.
I don't know if it's necessarily intended to post. It doesn't post as positively as I would like. Like
Yeah,
I can
it
push
looks
it on
kind of
there.
unnatural.
Yeah, and it sort of can pop off easily. So I'm going to go ahead and say it probably it's not really meant to be posted. But the body itself is long enough where you don't necessarily have to.
That thing looks so good, Brian.
It
I
looks
haven't
really
seen this in
cool.
person yet.
Right?
This is really nice.
It's $130 for this pen, but even still, it looks like a pen that's much more expensive than that. With a piston too.
There are some $130 pens that I would choose after this, for
Right?
sure. This is
Yeah,
definitely
I know.
one I would consider if I'm
know.
looking in that price range.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. So I think these are great. I don't know how many of these are going to make. I don't know if it's probably not going to be like an ongoing thing. It's in a limited capacity. But I also thought this was an opportunity to do a flex because I have the other two versions of this pen that they've
Wait,
done previously.
what?
What's that over here? So let's work backwards in time. So this is the Draco. So this is the TWSBI Draco that came out in 2021. And if you missed that, sorry.
You know
'cause
what?
it is
My
not
brain,
around anymore.
My brain told me that this was also a flecked resin.
It's not,
No,
Drew.
it's not.
This
Man, I haven't
is-
seen this one in a long time, though.
It has been a while. Well, 2021 was, there's a lot going on.
This was just 2021?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I would have thought it was like 2018 or something.
Nope. So
Dang.
same kind of thing. This has black trim.
Oh, okay.
Same piston and everything, but, ink window, everything also looks really, really sharp.
See, I think that rose gold would have looked better with that green.
With the green?
Green and gold, man.
That would have looked good too. Yeah.
I love
yellow
green and
gold or rose gold would
Yeah,
look good.
green and gold looks so good.
The first one they did was the Aurora.
Oh, that came first?
Yeah.
Oh.
So this was 2019.
Oh, okay.
So they're on like an every 2 year kind of a streak here. So
Gotcha.
it seems. I don't know if that's going to be the way ongoing, but that's how they're doing it. This one's rose gold. So, yep.
That looks really nice.
More similar. This one's like a more similar to the Kai, right? So you got the red and the blue. Looks really nice. Green one sticks out a little bit more, but also really nice.
I wonder if maybe next year they'll do another non-flecked resin, if they're going to alternate between that.
I don't know.
They look really good.
I mean, when it comes out, you're like, oh, this is a one-off. And then it comes out again. You're like, oh, is this like a thing now?
Right.
And then a third one comes out. You're like, oh, is it a pattern now?
So this is not, they don't have a model for this, as we were talking
Nope.
about earlier.
It's the TWSBI Aurora Draco Kai.
All right. So they've got a Precision, they've got a Classic, they've got an
Yep.
Eco, a 580. So let's not go with numbers. Let's go with a word.
What should
What
it
sort
be
of
on?
word? So let's see. Classic, go, swipe. I mean, the swipe doesn't swipe. I don't know where they came out with that
I
name.
don't know.
What does this pen do? This pen,
What does
it's
it
kind
do?
of like classic, meaning the TWSBI Classic is a more distinguished something. So you're getting
Yeah.
some classic vibes, but obviously we can't call it classic.
How about the TWSBI Retro? I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm just trying to confuse it with
TWSBI Turbo.
the TWSBI Retro Aurora. Why not?
Golly,
Let's look.
what in the world? You are just an agent of chaos.
Yeah,
The TWSBI
the TWSBI Swanky
Ultra, TWSBI Mega Ultra,
Ultra
Turbo,
Ultron.
Laser Beam,
What is-
Robot,
No, I don't
Oh.
think so. You're going the wrong. You're going future.
the
Drew.
Optimus,
Optimus.
the Megatron.
You're infringing on some trademarking here. at
Okay,
some
well, let's
point, I'm
go
sure.
with Optitron then.
I don't know. Okay, there you go. The TWSBI Optitron. How would they not go with that? Anyway, that's what we got. Cool pens. Don't get too excited. It won't be around long. But if you want to get one of these, if you want to get a Kai, get it as soon as you can from wherever you can because they won't be around long. Get that juicy B-roll.
All right.
Yeah.
TWSBI Kai.
There you go. Now,
Okay.
now I've just justified writing off all three of these pens.
There we
because I've
go.
now shown them in a... I'm just
That's
kidding.
right.
I mean,
Well, technically, you didn't need to justify one of those because it was Rachel's. So
I don't know which one is Rachel's that she's just letting me
I think it's the Aurora
probably. I don't know.
because I believe that one was a gift, if I remember correctly.
That could be. Could be.
But that is it for Pen Spotlight.
It is.
Um,
Is it what's happening time?
it's time to let everybody know what is happening.
All right, let's do it. All right, Drew, what's happening in your world, man?
It was a busy weekend, Brian.
Was it?
Yeah,
So weird. You normally don't ever do anything.
I tell you, I try. Try as I might. Things find me. The curse of having a extroverted wife. But no, wouldn't change a thing about her, obviously. But no, this first thing had nothing to do with Shannon, actually. We have friends who, we are friends with them, but our sons are even better friends, I think. So,
Oh yeah, I've got that.
yeah, Archer and Sal. So,
Do you at least know their first names?
oh, we love them. Yeah, they're great.
Okay.
Oh, no, they're
Because
fantastic.
I definitely have some parents of my kids' friends that we're not even on a first name basis.
Oh, no.
It's just like, oh yeah, that's
No,
you
they're
know,
great. We get along
that's Joey's
tremendously
friend.
well with them. We're
Joey's parents.
we're very fortunate that we get along great with them. We're probably
cool.
going to go to the pumpkin patch here soon together. No, they're
Ooh.
fantastic. But sometimes, in this case, they didn't even need a date night excuse or anything. They just Sal wanted to see Archer, so
Okay, that's cool.
They're just doing that. So Sal came over for a sleepover. Shannon was doing something that night. I think she had a birthday event to go to, so it was pretty much me for most of it. She came home obviously, but he came over. I ordered pizza, that whole standard thing. They
Nice.
ran around and were not quiet, so it was a great.
You don't want to just make some mac and cheese or something?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. They don't care. And Archer never eats anything whenever he's over at somebody's house or has a sleepover. So we eat one piece of pizza, standard practice for him. But yeah, I bought them some ice cream, and they just played video games, ran around like crazy. I had let Archer play around with because I still have my Xbox 360. There's a game on there, a wrestling game called WWE All Stars, which I had back when it was new because it wasn't like a realistic wrestling game. It was a very arcadey wrestling game, and all the dudes were like extraordinarily beefed up and ridiculous
jacked,
looking, like they look cartoony.
Yeah.
And it had like charge up punches where you could like slam somebody across the ring. Macho Man, like to get on to do his elbow drop from the turnbuckle, just flips up there, lands on it, and then jumps up, does like a spin, and then when he lands, it's just this massive shock wave. It's very.
Nice.
Do you remember NFL Blitz?
Sure.
It was like that, like really over exaggerated, but it's easy to play.
Yeah.
And I asked him like, "Hey Archer, do you want to create a wrestler?" This was like a couple weeks ago, and he just got a kick out of making a ridiculous thing.
Oh, of course.
So I suggested that while he and Sal were over. So they spent so much time, almost the entire time, making just ridiculously insane, silly.
That's such a great sleepover thing
I know.
to do,
Well, I got so many flashback memories because that's what I used to do.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, they're like, I walk in there, I'm like, oh, what'd you guys do? I see one character named, I think Poop Man.
Yeah.
And then one character named Potato. I'm like, all right, well, there you go. I'm like, this is bringing back memories. Like, that's what you do.
For sure.
One of them had a chicken head. The other one was just purple and, basically naked, and they were just having the greatest time. So just laughing their heads off, fighting each other and making fun of each other. So that was great. That gave me a good laugh. And then classic Archer as well. They tried to sleep in his playroom under his little jungle gym fort thing. He was like, nope, ended up leaving, going into his bed in the middle of the night, which he did last time as well.
Yep.
Great moments like, there's a hammock, hanging in his little fort jungle gym thing. And when Sal's mom came to pick him up, Shannon and her started talking too long. And of course that made them go do something else. And we go up to get him. And one of them has got the other one in the hammock, spinning it around and around, and just calling it a bean hammock because it's green. They're like, "Oh, look, I'm a bean," and he's just locked in there, trapped. Yeah. So just classic sleepover moments like that. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
Bean hammock.
Yep. They're just cracking up constantly. They behaved themselves though. It was nice. Made waffles in the morning for them.
Nice.
And then the next day, I get up, go out, bring the family back some muffins, and then we met some other friends with their kids at a park so that Archer and their kids could play. Of course, all the kids just went and did their own thing and just kind of didn't play with each other at all. But, we sat and caught up with our friends as well. And then after letting them run around at the park, we went out for lunch. That was nice. And then we had a little bit of an impromptu visit to Barnes & Noble to pick up some books because we got an email from Archer's teacher saying that he didn't meet his reading goals. So we're like, all right, we need to get this kid excited about it because she wants him to read 2 chapter books every month, I think. One at school and then one out of school. So pretty solid reading, schedule there. So we just took him. We're like, pick out some books. What are you interested in? What do you get excited about? So we picked out some good books. He got a Percy Jackson book, which I know is popular, and then some other book called The Lion of Mars. And he said it was popular at last year's book fair. So great, fantastic. He's been reading. It's been good. Emailed the teacher, said, we got him some books. And she was like, parents like that are really nice to have. And so that was good. It made us feel like we're doing something to help.
Right.
And I also bought a new book. So did Shannon. Shannon, we fit very much into our stereotypes. Shannon bought some colonial woman book about, she loves reading about colonial women who were kind of cooler than their more famous male counterparts. She's all about that. This one I think was about Ben Franklin's sister. And then I picked up a Stephen King book, the one about, it's like a historical fiction book about the JFK assassination where someone goes back in time to stop it.
Interesting.
So it's a massive book, but yeah, so we got some books.
Cool.
And then of course, after all that, Sunday morning comes. This
was just on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday and Friday night. Yeah. So then Sunday morning comes. I'm like, you know what? Archer's playing the wrestling game again. I'm like, hey, buddy, can I have a turn? Like, I'd really like to play some Metal Gear. I haven't been able to play this weekend. He's like, okay, cool. So he goes and does something else. I sit down, got a cup of coffee, get my game. Finally, I'm like, all right. And then I hear Shannon letting the dogs out. Goes, bark, 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 bark. And she comes in. Oh my God. I was like, oh my, what? And she says, it's so nice outside. So
like shocked at the weather?
Yeah, she was.
Wow.
Absolutely shocked. We need to go to the beach.
Oh.
So I was like, okay. Put my game down.
Like, there's my day.
There it is.
Because we don't live like 10 minutes from a beach.
No,
it's
but we if you in Central Virginia, you can get to the beach or the mountains in about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know, pretty easily. So that's what we did. We got in the car. We were headed to Yorktown. There's a little tiny beach on the York River, not like a big beach, but just something with some water.
Yeah.
And there's some boutique-y stores and overpriced restaurants. But then halfway there, she said, "Well, actually, we could go to this place called Buckrow Beach, which is about 10 miles farther, but it's like a legit beach on the bay."
Okay.
So I was like, "All right, sure, whatever you want, honey." So we did that. And this is like I know that my grandparents used to go to Buckrow Beach like in the 50s. And I think it was a pretty happening spot. But we drove there and we were like, this does not look like a beach community. It's just kind of some abandoned strip malls and a Dollar General. And then, but then all of a sudden we're at a very beautiful beach. So we're like, oh, okay, nice. So we spent a couple hours, maybe 2 hours there. Archer had a great time. She had a great time. I was sitting there with my Converse and my jeans and taking pictures and guarding the purse. But
well, to be fair, you didn't know you were.
I didn't know, right?
Going to a.
I thought we were going to that little dinky beach, but we ended up going to a legit beach. But I cuffed up the jeans. I got in there as much as I
exposed your skin. I exposed your skin to some sunlight.
Yeah, I blinded some people with my shins. But so that was that day, and then I came home and worked a little bit on Archer's Halloween costume.
Nice.
Some of our stuff came in. We're going to go to a party where we need to dress as like a before and after character, kind of like Wheel of Fortune. If someone was like a General George S. Patton Oswalt, like
gotcha.
you do like a before and after. Like, okay, so I need to be Patton Oswalt, but with like a military hat or something like that. So
I gotcha.
Shannon's going to be Queen Elizabeth Lemon from 30 Rock. She got a 30 Rock hoodie that says Liz on it.
That's awesome.
But she's got a gray wig and a crown. And I'm going to be is a character from is Walton Goggins' character from Righteous Gemstones.
Okay.
He is called Baby Billy, but mostly they refer to him as Uncle Baby Billy because he's older. He's big gray poofy hair, glasses. But I'm going to be Uncle Baby Billy Idol. So I'm going to have a spiked leather jacket, chains, combat boots, but then with the gray wig and the big glasses. So
nice.
I'm not super excited about it, but we're making it work. So all that came in. So my cheap Amazon leather jacket or pleather jacket showed up.
Yeah.
And now I just need to fill it with spikes.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, working on that. And then looking forward to my 40th birthday, believe it or not. It's not happening until March, but we booked a cabin in the mountains already for that weekend.
Look at you.
Which Shannon never wants to do, but for my birthday, for the big 4-0, we're going to the mountains. So I'm super excited about that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she was like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it now because we know that if we get there, we're going to be like, we don't have the money. We just got back from Disney.
Yeah.
We can go out to Waffle House if you want.
Yeah, because you mentioned like you were doing Disney's right before.
I know. I wasn't expecting anything, but she surprised me and really wanted to do this.
Well, let's be real. Like of the 3 people in your family, you're not the one who's like going to enjoy Disney the most. Right? You enjoy it though, right?
I love Disney.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I think Archer will probably enjoy it the least.
Really?
Yeah. No, I freaking love Disney.
Okay. Yeah. That's true. Okay.
Yeah. Archer's.
Good point.
You can't ever tell with him. He has like sensory overload. You're like, are you having a good time? Like, oh, yeah, this is amazing. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Great.
Because you're not smiling in all your pictures.
Yeah. Me, I'm like, you can't stop me. Like Christmas morning, though, he's like, this is exactly what I wanted.
Just deadpan like that.
He's getting better, though, as he gets older.
That's awesome. But you and Shannon are so expressive.
Yeah.
That's really funny. He's pretty expressive too.
He's getting better. I think sometimes he just gets overwhelmed.
He's got to grow into it,
But that's it for me.
Cool.
I'll probably get to play video games next weekend.
Well, you're taking one for the family here. Yeah. Good on you. I was gonna say like we have 2 Nintendo Switches because my family plays it all the time. I have not played a Nintendo Switch game on my own. Like I played as like Mario Party or Mario Kart or something. I haven't touched a Nintendo Switch on my own, I think, in 3.5 years.
Yeah, I barely get on that thing. But usually the big TV where the PlayStation is my thing. But since Archer's been on the Xbox with the wrestling game, I've been like...
That's so funny.
I know, it's hilarious. But, he did the whole thing where he started making ridiculous characters, but then he got a little bit serious. He's like, all right, this guy is an ice guy and this guy's a fire guy and they're a team. I'm like, okay, that's
right.
the natural
Getting into
progression
it.
where you
Yeah,
start
yeah.
goofy and then you get a little,
Yeah.
little role play going on there.
Yeah. Good on him.
It's funny.
Cool. Yeah, so me, pen-wise, I picked up a TWSBI Kai and the Lamy Dialogue CC all black. So that was cool. I'm enjoying those. I got to enjoy this nice weather that we had this past weekend.
It was alarmingly pleasant.
It was very pleasant. So, I have some like home projects and stuff that I'm kind of in the middle of, but my mother reached out to me because at their place, they had a bunch of plants that were like there from before they bought the place that were, just kind of a lot. They were starting to get really big.
It's like outside
They wanted
the mulch.
something. Yeah. And it was just like, it was planted really close to their house and, bugs were around there and they were having to trim them and all that kind of stuff. And they really wanted to, they moved there so that they could scale down and not have to maintain all that.
Oh yeah.
So they just kind of wanted to scale it back a little bit. And, my parents, they've got this dynamic when it comes to whether it's like moving or, clearing things out in any fashion. My mom, she is one of 9 kids and was raised very frugally and like immigrant parents post World War II. So they never like throw anything or get away or get rid of anything. Everything gets reused. And my dad grew up in that same era too, but he's much more of like when he kind of makes up his mind, he wants to start over on something. He's more of like let's just clear the slate and start fresh, So you mix those two together and, my mom is like, you can tell she's like, we need to clear out some of these plants. So she kind of asked me, she's like, if I wanted to come over. Cause like, plants are,
So did you need to be kind of a buffer?
No, I mean, it was fine. Like it wasn't a contentious thing. It was more just like, initially it was kind of like, hey, it's like fall season. Like, if you want to take any of these plants, she wanted to offer them to me. Right.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, if you want to, she's like, we'd like to remove some of these plants. So if you want any of them, you can take them. And I'm like, sure. I think
I'm sure she appreciated you taking some.
Oh, well, there's more to the story. So, initially I was thinking, 'cause she mentioned a couple of the plants and I've obviously been to their place and stuff like that. And so I'm thinking like 6, 8 plants, something like
that's
that.
a lot.
Yeah. And they're pretty good size. So I was like, all right, this is going to be like a meaningful enough day. And it's like, there's kind of like a time element to it, right? Because it's like the weather has to be good. If I wait too late, then, the chance of them dying during transplanting is higher and will they, take root properly and stuff like that. So it was like, it just kind of worked out where it was like, this is like the ideal weekend to do this. So, it was cool. Rachel and Ellie were like getting a haircut or doing something like having a kind of a girls' day. And so, it was just me and Joseph. And I was like, hey, Joseph, do you want to like come and help me with this? It helps me out, helps your parents. He's not an outside kid and he hates bugs, hates dirt, all that stuff. But, he also wants a Steam Deck. So I was like, this is some pretty legit work. Like I'll pay you to help me out with this, because that's what we do. We don't have an allowance.
You get to play with a pickaxe.
Yeah, we don't have an allowance for our kids. We have like jobs for them to do around the house. So like, there's a little bit of a, in some ways it feels kind of weird because feels like I'm kind of bribing them all the time to do a bunch of stuff. But I'm also like, yeah, but it also teaches them like, I got to get off my butt and do something if I want to buy that thing.
Yeah.
So it's pros and cons to it. But anyway,
just helping them keep it on their mind.
Yeah, but I will say it's getting more motivating as he's like working towards that Steam Deck. He's like, oh, if I go today and we work and da-da-da-da. And so I was like, all right, for this job, I don't know what we're stepping into. Let's just do a flat hourly rate. I won't pay like per the job because I don't really know what we're stepping into. So he's cool with that. And so, all right, he comes with me. I'm like, cool. So we go over there. And as it turns out, they kind of wanted to like scorch earth the whole thing.
Oh, so your dad got his way.
Well, as they kind of got into it and all that, it was like, oh, okay, this is like, that's kind of more what they sort of needed to do. And my dad is he's much more of like a, he's kind of like me, like when he makes up his mind, kind of dives into something. He's like, yeah, let's just do it.
You're kind of both ways because you also don't like getting rid of stuff.
I balance it. Yeah. I kind of have the worst of both. Like I want to jump into projects, but then I never want to get rid of anything. Which is why I have 40 hammers. It's all making sense now. Right.
Those hammers.
Yep. So we get there and Joseph and I go and we start digging and like we've had a lot of rain recently. So like stuff's pretty easy to dig up, but even still like some of these bushes are getting pretty big and like the root ball, trying to keep like enough of a root ball to transplant them, they're weighing like 100 pounds or so for these root balls. And I'm like getting pretty tired after a couple hours there. And I was
Did
like,
you bring like, cloth or something to bind them up with?
yeah, we
or?
brought like trash bags
Yeah.
and, stuff like that. So like we had some of the right gear, and I have a pickup truck, but I didn't bring that because I didn't want to have to like lift everything up into the truck. So I have a 10-foot utility trailer that I can lower the gate down, and I can just like sort of lift and kind of scramble it all on there. Well, we filled up the trailer, and there was still a lot more plants to go.
Did you bag them all up, or did you just bag up the ones you wanted to keep and then rip the other ones out?
Well, I mean, all the plants were worth having, and I have room. Like I could just throw them in the woods and let them die. But it's like I could also just dig a hole in the ground and watch them be different than pine trees, which is everything else that I have.
One is significantly easier than the other, though.
Well, 90% of the work was digging them up and moving them, right?
Yeah.
It's not that much more work to dig a hole and throw it in the hole, right?
I don't know.
So
depends on your equipment, I guess. It would be for me.
Well, okay, so we'll get into that. Well, as you know, I have a tractor, so that was a COVID purchase of mine, and I have a tractor and it's got a backhoe on the back of it. So when it comes to digging stuff up, I'm like, yeah. But to bring a tractor over there, it's a lot of work to haul it in the trailer and all the whole thing. So after spending a couple hours there trying to dig all this stuff up, I was like, I'm pretty exhausted already. And not only do I have to dig all this stuff up, but then I have to go and bring it home and then transplant it again. I was like, let me go back. And so it was like lunchtime.
In enough time to keep them alive.
Yes. So I was like a little under the gun. Oof. And so I was like, okay, it's a little bit of scope creep, but my parents were like in the mode. They were just, they were in the zone, willing to do it. They were helping as well. And I was like, all right, we got momentum here. Let's just knock this sucker out. So, I come back, and it's all a good learning experience for Joseph too. We're getting to bond and spend time together and all that kind of stuff. It was good. So we go back, get the tractor, bring it back. And then of course it takes like 5 minutes to pull things up with the tractor because it's way stronger than a human. So we get all the plants up. I didn't really count how many plants there were, but it was another full truckload, of plants after the initial trailer load as well. So it was quite a few plants. So we do all that and we get back home around 4:00. So we got there around 10.
And you were still planning on planting those that same day?
Well, that was the thing.
Oh, no.
I was sitting there like, okay, I now have
it's dinner time.
A full truck and trailer load of plants.
Oh God, how many were there?
Well, 28 in
20.
total.
You are not planting 28.
I did.
You did not.
So at that point, it was 4:00. My parents were so grateful for that. They were like, let us buy you dinner. We'll bring dinner over. Cause I was like, I gotta go transplant these. I gotta get these things in the ground.
Oh my God.
Or else I might as well just throw them in the woods. So I was like, all right. And at this point, Joseph was like so torn because you could tell he wanted to help, but he was so tired because he hung with me for about 6.5 hours. And this is the most physical work that he's done in a while. So I was like, look, I was like, dude, you've done great. You go in and relax and stuff like that. Hang with your mom. I was like, but I got to get these things in the ground. So I just went nuts and I did it. And I worked
28.
I worked until about 10 at night.
Oh my God.
So I had lights out and everything. I was out there digging up stuff in the dark. I felt like a bit of a lunatic.
Yes.
And it was,
you would have been more of a lunatic if you buried them under the ground, like your logs.
I have done that in the dark. But I did it. I got all 28 of the plants planted. And so now there's like azaleas, there's butterfly bushes. Like, I mean, to be fair, these are like, a lot of these are fairly mature plants. I'm no like plant expert, but it's got to be $1,500 to $2,000 worth of plants if I were to go out and buy these things. So it's like, for the amount of work for that day, I'm getting all these plants for free. So it's like, I'm helping my parents out, getting to enjoy the beautiful weather outside into the evening.
I really hope they live.
And then trying to set up. Some of them, by the time I pulled them up, I was like, because they were a lot more planted too close to each other. So some of them I couldn't really get like a solid root ball.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of them where I'm like, yeah, these might not make it.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. But there's some that I'm like, oh yeah, these will be fine. So we'll see if even half of them make it into next year. It'll. So
did you put them along the side of the house or on wood's edge?
So I put some along like our side of our house, like our sunroom area. I put some along the edge of our woods, and then we have like a natural area with like a swing set and stuff like that. And I put a lot of it in that area. But yeah, I planted a whole ton of stuff back there. So now we have a little sunroom and we can look out the back and we can see stuff flowering and all that kind of stuff. So
That's amazing.
I think it'll pay off, but I definitely did not know that's what I was signing up for at the start of Saturday. So that was all Saturday. And keep in mind, it's fall. So thinking about like yard maintenance, I know when fall rolls around, I want to like aerate the yard, throw down some grass seed, have some stuff kind of take root before the winter, because otherwise I'll just have solid patches of dirt the following year. So like, I know at this point there's a rhythm that I need to have for some yard maintenance. So this is on my mind too, where I'm like, oh, I got all these plants. And now I have also some like
rhythm and yard maintenance is so foreign to me.
Yeah, I don't obsess over it, but I have a pretty sizable yard. So it's like, if I do some basic things, then the yard looks great. If I don't do the basic things, then I end up with a dust bowl. So it's like, it behooves me to spend a little bit of time and energy. But
that is admirable.
Yeah, thank you. We've lived there over a decade. So I know at this point, after neglecting it for the first like 5 years, then it's like, this is pretty bad. So a little bit goes a long way.
Wow.
So I was pretty tired after 12 straight hours of work.
Was this Saturday?
Like Saturday.
Okay. Tell me you rested on Sunday.
The only time, no, I didn't.
Oh,
I have no children.
I know. What am I thinking?
Like the only time that I sat down on Saturday after we started was while I was in the truck driving, and then for like 15 minutes while I ate dinner. Other than that, I was shoveling and moving and hauling. And so I was pretty tired at the end of Saturday.
Not tired enough to chill.
No. Well, I slept. And then I woke up, and then I did all the other yard stuff and some other home projects on Sunday. So
wow,
I have something called a lawn roller, because we have a lot of like voles and other things that just dig up all these trenches and stuff like that. So while the ground is soft and it's falling, all that kind of stuff, I have this lawn roller. It's like a big rolling pin basically that you pull behind.
It's like an aerator?
Lawnmower. No, it's literally like a rolling pin.
Oh, it just flattens.
It flattens.
Oh.
So it helps, because otherwise I'm on a riding lawnmower and I'm like bouncing around like a bucking bronco if I don't smooth the lawn at all.
Yeah.
So I do that a couple times a year.
I guess you could also, if you have soft spots, you could end up getting stuck too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That makes sense.
So the lawn it helps to just smooth things out a little bit.
Okay.
So when we've had a ton of rain recently, so it's like, oh, this is the perfect time to do this, because otherwise the ground's hard and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I gotta roll the lawn. And then
that seems silly at first, but it makes sense.
It does seem silly, but I'm like, yeah, it does. But I have to roll it first, then aerate it, because I'm packing everything down when I roll it.
Yeah.
So then you aerate it to sort of get freshened up a little bit, and then you seed it to help the grass seed kind of get in there. So I did all of that on Sunday, in addition to some other home projects and stuff like that. So yeah, I was pretty tired. And then actually Sunday, also we I had like some family time too in the morning before I got into all that stuff. And I just have to laugh because, Rachel went to Trader Joe's, which has like pumpkin
everything
explosion.
Oh yeah.
So everything pumpkin. So she got some gluten-free pumpkin pancake mix, right? Because she's not gluten intolerant, but she's more gluten sensitive.
Yeah.
So she has to take it easy. So we did some gluten-free pancakes. And it's really funny because I remember before when we made the pancakes, they were like really kind of thin and kind of like floppy and stuff like that. And so I mixed them again, and I was like, yeah, these things seem really thin. And I made the whole box, which was like 4 cups of batter. And it was like, this is so much pancakes. Because I usually do that with like the Crusties or whatever. But I think the quantity is more in the Trader Joe's. So I was like, oh, we'll just make the whole box. Made a crap ton.
I started buying
pancakes.
pancake mix from Costco.
Yeah. Oh boy. So there you go. But I was like, these are gluten-free too, so I don't know, maybe this is normal. And I remember because it ended up being the exact same as they were the last time we made them, where they were super, super thin. And I was like, I guess this is just how they do it or whatever. And so we called them pan crepes because they kind of end up more crepe-like.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, we make the whole thing. And I've like one of those electric griddles, and I'm not joking. It was probably like 10 griddles worth of these because it was so thin too. So the stuff would just spread out. So I was making pan crepes for like a friggin' half an hour.
Oh my God.
Come to find out, I messed up the directions.
Twice.
And as Rachel was telling me, I realized, I was like, oh yeah, I did that last time. And then we realized it after the fact. And then I forgot because we haven't made this pancake mix probably, I think, since maybe last year.
So you did the exact same thing you
I did
did
the
last year?
exact same thing.
What'd you
Remember
do?
that they were watery. So I just got the math wrong because
okay,
I was making the whole box. So the recipe called for mixing in a half a cup of water per cup of mix plus 2 tablespoons. So it's like a half a cup plus 2 tablespoons. And I was like more focused on calculating the tablespoon worth. And so in my mind, I just got some numbers mixed up.
Too much
and
water.
I ended up doing 4 cups of water and it should have been 2.
So you got pancake puddles.
So I did 4.5 cups of water instead of 2.5 cups of water. Totally my mistake.
That'll do it.
And I ended up making pancakes.
Pancakes.
Yep.
Very nice.
Pumpkin pancake crepes with chocolate chips in them. So it was tasty, just very thin and floppy. And yeah, it was a crud load of them. And
Nice.
Yeah, it's really kind of funny and ironic to realize like, oh yeah, it's actually nothing wrong with the mix at all. I just can't do math multiple times and then forgot. It's like, this is,
I have absolutely done that before.
yeah.
Multiple times.
And I'm normally like the pancake guy. Like I make really good pancakes. But for whatever reason with these Trader Joe pancakes, I can't get my act together. Anyway, so that was an exciting experience. Also, I won't go on about this, but Joseph is kind of like Rachel. He likes to be right and correct things that are wrong. And he's also like very much into like nerd stuff, which, as you know, people who are into nerd stuff love to correct incorrect things, especially about their nerd stuff, right? So he will do that a lot.
Took me many years to not be that nerd.
Sure. It's natural. Like I'm often that way with other things too. So, but I was told about a show that they have some on YouTube, but it's also on like its own like streaming service called Dropout or something like that. The show is called Actually.
Oh,
So it is like a Jeopardy style, like buzz-in type show, but it's all about Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and all of like the nerd culture stuff. So they'll have like a paragraph or like a string of facts, but they'll say one thing wrong and you have to correct them about the thing that's wrong.
oh, that's awesome.
So I've been watching some of that and showed some of it to Joseph. They use some curse words in there here and there, so it's not for like little kids, but I just thought it was really fun. I thought you might appreciate it.
That
too.
is amazing.
So
Yeah, that makes me really
it's done
curious.
pretty well. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Have you seen those scenes with like Stephen Colbert, like trying to get stumped on Lord of the Rings facts?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so because he's such a huge Lord of the Rings nerd.
Oh, I didn't know
They'll
that.
actually have people from the cast like come on and be like, all right, or like James Marsden did it one time. Not James Marsden. Why do I think that? No, James Franco came on. He's like, so I reread the Silmarillion recently, Steve, and I have a question for you. And he's acting all like cocky. He's like, name just two of these things. And Colbert's like, oh, okay. Would you like this one, the blah blah blah, or this one, maybe this one? And he just goes off and like you cannot stump that man. Like
Wow.
he is an encyclopedia. It's crazy.
Wow, respect.
But like there have been
respect.
cast members from Lord of the Rings that come on and be like, all right, here's the thing. And they'll always try to stump him. You know, they've done
Yeah.
it like once, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's a huge Lord of the
Oh,
Rings
that's really funny.
guy.
And then last thing, this is the thing that came up earlier that I said I would bring back up that I made the note on. So as the seasons are changing, you know, my daughter Ellie, she claims to never be cold. She wants to wear shorts like all winter, even when it's like so obvious. Like she never wants to wear a jacket. Like when she was like second, third grade, we would like make her bring a jacket to school and she would bring it. And then like, as she was getting out of the car, she would like throw the jacket in the car, close the door and go into the school.
You've told me about that before.
And like on a regular basis. And you're just like, well, technically she brought her jacket, didn't she? Anyway, we don't really fight it anymore, but she takes pride in never being cold. When Joseph loves pants, he's like you. He's like, he would love to wear pants, loves his cargo sweatpants. That is his jam. And I'm like, all right, dude, that's your thing. But he actually uses those pockets. He has like a pencil sharpener and a pencil, and he has like specific things that he keeps in his cargo pockets.
That's amazing.
I'm like, yep, he's a little bit like me. So, you know, it brought up the conversation about as the weather is changing. My kids think it's the craziest thing that as it starts to get a little cooler into fall, that I will wear shorts with a hoodie. And I was like, why is that so crazy? They just think it's the weirdest thing. And I'm like, well, like for me, it's kind of like, you know, when you're trying to stay warm,
Your core.
you keep your core warm, you know, right? Like, so it actually makes more sense rather than wearing pants and a short sleeve shirt, to wear more coverage on your torso and all that. And
that's why puffy vests exist.
Well, and that's what I said, because we were talking about the hoodie thing, and it's like, well, actually, it's like your heart and your brain, basically. It's like your head and your chest that you want to keep. And so Rachel and I were joking. So we're like, so really the ideal clothing would be like a hooded puffy vest. And I was like, is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing. I don't see people wearing that often, but like even just a regular vest, like a hooded vest, is that a thing? Because really, if you wanted to stay warm, that would be the most effective, bare minimum piece of clothing to do it.
Yeah.
So we had this whole conversation about hooded vests.
It honestly sounds like wrestling attire.
A little bit, right?
Like,
I'm thinking like a hoodie that you like cut off the sleeves, like that kind of a thing. I'm sure it exists out there. So I'm curious, y'all, if is hooded vests like a thing? I don't know. I didn't research it any further, but it's been a point of conversation in the Goulet family recently. So that was a thing that I thought about a little bit ago.
Yeah, Brian, you want to talk to AJ Styles, professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's he rocking?
That is a thing.
Is the hooded vest his...
I believe, I'm trying to find a picture with the hood, but you can see it there. Like, it's definitely there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I believe that, I don't know if all of his have...
Well, so he's like wearing no shirt with a vest and a hood. That to me doesn't feel like...
He cares about... Look at that.
There you go.
He cares about the...
So he's like open vest, no shirt with a hood.
Yeah.
That... I mean...
Yeah, this is why I thought, I'm like, professional wrestling attire. I'm like, somebody does that.
It does kind of feel like a pro... But I mean, like, okay, that's like... That looks ridiculous. That's what I feel like I would look like. That's what I feel like I would look like if I wore a hooded vest.
I have a puffy vest, and I never know how to wear it.
It's got a look to it, right?
Yeah,
like
I can't figure it out. Sometimes I do.
I don't know.
I'm feeling courageous.
Anyway, so that's what's been happening in my world. We'll do company updates, and then I have a very exciting fun fact at the end. All right, biggest company update that we have, aside from all the new fun stuff that we're launching, is Drew's got another video out on his favorite green pens. Green pens are contentious. They can be hit or miss.
You got to get the good ones.
Yeah, Drew's curated some good ones for you. So go check that out if you haven't already.
They're not just my favorite. They're green pens that also have like a feature to them. So if you're looking for a green pen, but also a blank or a blank or a blank, I'm filling in the blanks.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you. All right, now let's wrap this thing up. I want to thank you all for watching. Please leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Ask us questions so we can keep the show going. Check out gouletpens.com, our self-sponsored whateverness. And Fountain Pens.
That's us running ads.
There you go. That's our ad. Subscribe to YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. All right, my random fun fact. So this has been a big point of debate here at Goulet Pens, specifically around, so this is dealing with sandwiches. The whole notebook sandwich thing got me down a little bit down a rabbit hole of how do you actually define a sandwich?
Who'd have thought
I went with Merriam-Webster, but I was like, I feel like there's more. I feel like there's more to this.
Like Oxford.
Right. Or, other places. So it sent me down a path.
Other less reliable places?
Well, I'll get into it.
Oh,
I went not just hot dog, but I went, but the whole is a hot dog a sandwich thing is a big conversation here at Goulet Pens.
Merriam-Webster says
there are some strong
sandwich.
feelings about it. Yes, exactly. That's one anchor to the conversation. So I found an article, I think it was from like Mental Floss or something like that, but it was cited with other sources. So I didn't take the article at face value, but still it's just an internet thing. Take it for what it's worth. That was my jumping off point. So I will say as a blanket statement, most of what, from a legal standpoint, what defines something as a sandwich comes down to either like state or federal tax law coming to with like food or health regulation purposes. So that is what, opinions aside, that's where a lot of confusion can set in because different jurisdictions will define things as sandwiches or other things because there are different tax implications depending on what type of like food or restaurant or whatever that it may be. And that is up to interpretation in different jurisdictions. And there are some things that are contradictory. So there is very real and like legally like documented differences and conflicting things out there as to what is a sandwich and what is not. So I will not be able to answer everything, but I will be able to highlight some points of debate. So if you want to have some ammo for, correcting, some actually type conversations you may be able to have around sandwiches, I'll send you down the path here. So hot dogs, okay, that was immediately what came to mind for me. So according to California tax law, they word it as hot dog and hamburger sandwiches. So they lump it all into one thing, and they're pretty firmly saying like hot dogs are sandwiches. They classify them as hot dog stands, hot dog, restaurants. They call them sandwiches.
Yeah, of course.
Merriam-Webster, as I stated earlier, also calls hot dog sandwiches. But the USDA, which is the federal defining authority on food things, considers them a sandwich-like product. So they are not considered a full sandwich. They fall into the sandwich-like product, which is a category with burritos and fajitas. So there's this nebulous place of sandwich-like products that the USDA lumps it into. The USDA defines a sandwich as a meat or poultry filling between two slices of bread, a bun, or a biscuit. So according to the USDA, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich wouldn't even be a sandwich, which to me is insane. That doesn't feel right.
No, USDA is wrong.
So I feel like USDA would be like very pro-meat, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like what they do. So I don't know if I completely agree with that one,
No.
but it's a federal source that our tax dollars are paying for it to be defined that way. So I thought that was worth noting. Now, burritos, getting a little bit away from hot dogs here. The Massachusetts courts ruled that burritos are not sandwiches officially after a legal kerfuffle between Qdoba and Panera Bread. So this was in the White City Shopping Center. The Panera Bread was already there. And in their lease agreement with their tenant, it was said that there would be no other sandwich restaurants that would be allowed on the premises. And Qdoba was trying to set up on there. And the landlord thought like, well, this won't be a problem because the burritos are obviously not sandwiches. But Panera was trying to block and ended up doing a legal thing saying they can't be in here because we're supposed to be the only sandwich place. So it got like escalated to like the state level, and Massachusetts had to actually define that burritos are not sandwiches.
How about that?
Because of that. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And like it just opened up a debate about like, because some people assumed like, of course they're not sandwiches, like it's a burrito. But it really caused that to be like legally defined, at least in Massachusetts. Now, in the state of New York, which is not that far from Massachusetts, sandwiches include cold and hot sandwiches of every kind that are prepared and ready to be eaten, whether made on bread, on bagels, on rolls, in pitas, in wraps, or otherwise, and regardless of the filling or number of layers. A sandwich can be as simple as a buttered bagel or roll, or as elaborate as a 6-foot toasted submarine sandwich.
So anything is a sandwich in New York.
Because they want to tax it all, right? Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
So you can have one state that's like, obviously burritos are not sandwiches. And New York is like, friggin' everything's a sandwich.
If
a buttered roll? They call a buttered roll a sandwich.
Buttered.
New York? Really?
Butter
a
is
buttered roll.
The
buttered bagel is a sandwich?
It's the new meat.
I don't think so.
Butter is the new meat.
I think you're a little generous there,
Wow.
New York.
That's funny.
But you can dive deeper into this.
Yeah.
But basically every state has to, because of like tax implications, they have to define all these different things. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So like, what's so funny is around every debate around this, it's always this like, well, like everybody's like, well, obviously it is or it isn't. But then you're like, wait a minute, like I didn't even know that this was a debate. And that's like, it unfolds like that, like in every single state. I know, you feel kind of crazy, but I thought that was really fun and that was worth sharing. You can look it up. You can debate it with your coworkers or your family members and your friends, and you can correct them, and you can throw whatever facts from whatever states that support your viewpoint and just ignore the other stuff. I feel like that's an appropriate thing to do in 2023. Just leave out the facts that you don't like and just pick the ones that you agree with, and then just bombard people with that until you wear them down.
Tale as old as time.
Yeah, I feel like that's
humans have been doing that since we could do anything. So let me ask you this though. Going back to the butter thing, I'm going to put on my Brian hat and debate you.
Okay.
What if you had a bagel and then solid unmelted butter in between the bagel? That's a sandwich, right? That's a butter sandwich.
According to New York, hot or cold, it doesn't matter.
But like if you had, but like it is more of a sandwich though if you have something solid in there though. Like that, you're chewing the butter at that point. You're chomping into it. But if it's melted, it becomes not a sandwich?
One could argue.
Wow.
One could argue. I would not consider a bagel with any like condiment or topping to
but
be a
is butter
sandwich.
still a condiment if it's over an inch thick?
Boy.
No, that's all right. We can be
This
done.
is why you get into like
Yeah.
contracts and stuff that end up being like hundreds of pages long.
Yeah.
Because you have to define these things to this degree. So anyway,
Let's get out of here.
fun little debate. We can end this. We've dragged it on long enough. Hope you all have a great week. We'll catch you next week. Thanks so much for watching, and right on.